Hello. Welcome to Wednesday night, the night before BabsCon kicks off.
Indeed, and we have a special show tonight. So not just for the fact that we are on Wednesday, but we have a guest that will be taking the hot seat in a little bit. And I wonder if it's got something to do with a role-playing game. I'm not quite sure, but maybe.
Yeah.
But so it's going to be about a 3-hour show tonight instead of the usual 4. Otherwise, it's going to be business as usual.
And since I know we have some new people in the stream who might not have ever seen my face before, my name is BaronEngel. This is Kieran over here. He's the guy that makes all this technologies and the cameras and the mics and everything work.
I push the buttons.
Yes.
We look for things to make us go.
Make them go, yes.
All right. So, first things first. The most important thing.
And they said the brain lubricant must flow.
Spice must flow. Indeed. So tonight we're doing a drink called La Paloma. Paloma is sort of the national cocktail of Mexico. It's actually more popular than margarita. It's very simple tequila and basically grapefruit juice or grapefruit soda if you don't have grapefruit juice cocktail. So first thing we're going to do is cut my leg open. Don't do this at home, kids. This is a very stupid way to do things.
No, actually, Toxic, it's just because tonight is a Roan RPG night, and Kieran here decided to, instead of...
I'm being all thematic and shit.
Yeah, and instead of the incredibly loud Hawaiian shirt, he was going to have the...
I am showing you mercy.
Yes. Salt. Light coating salt on the rim. Just like a margarita.
There we go. Kosher salt. Kosher salt is ground up differently. It comes out in flakes instead of little tiny cubes. Sticks much, much better. And then we need some ice. This one you don't need a cocktail shaker for the Paloma. This is a very simple, easy drink to make. It's designed to be made at home by some people who live in a very hot tropical part of the world. And
good catch.
Yeah.
No, I'll build on that one.
Ah, there we go. So I blew my saving throw.
Old fashions. Okay, Dusk Watch, you're already in my scoring points. The old fashioned is my cocktail when I go to a bar for the first time and I want to see what the bartender can do, just to kind of test do they know their basics or do they get all kind of fancy and try to basically hide the fact they don't know their classics.
So this is simple syrup, which is basically a very highly saturated sugar water. Bloop, just a little bit, not too much, about that much. And about that much, because grapefruit juice is kind of puckery. The alcohol du jour is silver tequila, which Mr. Baron will magically produce. El Milagro. Because we used up the Patron Silver last week.
Yes.
We're going to go up to about there.
Thank you, 7 cents. It was nice being able to work with Admiral Biscuit to get that all to come together quite nicely. I'm hoping to work again.
Grapefruit juice. You can do either ruby or pink. I prefer ruby.
Hey, Duskwatcher, send me a note on DeviantArt about that. Because I'm going to go just a little bit too fast tonight. You'll really follow any kind of long, complicated... Yeah, the Cosmopolitan's a wonderful one. The Manhattan's neat. I have to admit, I'm very fond of sidecars, and recently he did classic whiskey sour with the egg white, and it really does make so much difference. It's so nice.
There we go. This is just club soda. Drink Canada try. I'll try it. Canada's now dry. And then, just a squoze
of lime juice.
Yeah. And a squoze. This one. There we go. All right. So why do we have 2 of these things? Well, let's find out. Mr. Clear Skies.
All right.
Going to switch places here.
I'll move my feet out of the way so you can actually do this.
There we go.
And just play on the safe side, I'll lift this drink so in case you can't bump it and bowl it over.
The Baron is so prepared.
Because we actually try to at least fake that we're professionals here. All right. Okay. So, your beverage.
Hello, everyone.
All right.
Who the hell is that?
Yeah. This is you mind your real name is disclosed to the world?
Oh, sure.
Okay.
Everybody who's picked up the book knows my name.
Yeah. Robert Morris goes by Clear Skies. This guy is the reason why, like, during the pre-show and everything, you see that picture of the air carrier and all the ponies and everything. That's his game, Roan. And tonight, basically, we're going to be talking a bit about the Roan RPG. And we're going to be talking a little bit, giving more of an extended version of what's going to be discussed if you're going to BabsCon on Friday between 4 and 4:45 in the Hall of Magic. Event Hall number 3 is when we're going to be having our panel.
Yeah, and we're definitely looking forward to it. It's nice. Unfortunately, we're not going to be able to have a table this year, but once again, appreciate everybody who comes by. And to the chat, I definitely want to say, hi to everybody who's been giving shout-outs, and also thank you for the compliments. We actually have, a couple of the artists kind of creeping through here, and some of the writers and layout designers.
In fact, actually, I'd like to take a moment to make note of some of the people who were involved in the Roan RPG project, because it's not just me and Clear Skies. There was and Cat's Paw, who was in the chat. He's there. We have Foxfire
helped out with a lot of writing.
Cretius
is one of our go-to artists for this project, and we hope that we're gonna have her back in the next book. This was the work of over 20 artists.
Just about, yeah. Over 20 artists helped out, and kind of from all points of the world. I mean, we had some folks know him. We had Stedelnik, and he is out of Slovenia, I believe.
Makar was originally out of Russia. Now he's in Germany.
I believe so. I believe he's in Germany now. He's another writer. We've had Bunimation courses out of the U.S. There's Izzy. Of course, I think Izzy's not up at this time.
Yeah.
That's the trouble that runs into, is that when you have folks from all over the world, not everybody can make it.
So, and also just a real quick thing about BabsCon. We don't have a table in the dealer's room, but we are going to be, as much as possible, in the gaming room.
Doing demonstration games and making ponies.
Doing pickup stuff and everything. So if you're interested, if you're at BabsCon, show up. We'll show you how to create a character. We'll get you guys up and rolling. We're going to show you how amazing this game is. And I guess, a question I have right off the bat is, why'd you get involved in games in the first place?
Oh, well, for me, pretty much...
Gives me an excuse to drink while he's
Oh, so it leaves me dry. Oh, feel like Canada now. Thanks. But anyway, yeah, for the most part, going into game development, it's been a big passion of mine ever since, well, I got a Nintendo. And it was either that or becoming a Thunderbird pilot. One was going to work out.
Yeah.
So one of these was going to
You're
work
one of
out.
those Air Force weenies, huh? Yeah, my dad was a Navy aviator. Flew Hellcats and Corsair 2s, and ended up teaching in one of the schools that eventually evolved into Top Gun. Not so much dogfighting, but he taught like emergency survival.
Well, I mean, the other side was going as the Golden Knights, but my dad was already Army, so that's represented. And jets are really cool.
Yeah.
You don't see like the Blue Angels of A-10 Warthogs. It'd be kind of cool though.
It would be, actually.
Oh yes.
Just fly to the side of the mountain, and the mountain loses.
Yeah. So,
but yeah, so it was going through life as anything else. I started up learning game development. I became a 3D graphics artist with animation, as well as learning how to do minor coding on the side to play with things like Unreal and so on and so forth. I took a job with a company, a subsidiary of Activision called Activision Value, and with that company we were working a lot of the third and sometimes second party video games that came out. This was in early 2000. And about that point, graduated, got picked up and tossed out over to Maryland as a government contractor, but I still want to do video games. So for many of you who may have heard of it, there was a card game called Buck Legacy. And Bug Legacy is run by Harrison Hodgkins. He's out in England.
UK, yeah.
He's out in the UK. You know, tremendous guy. And he and I, at one point, I chatted with him over Skype and said, you know what? How about turning Bug Legacy into an RPG game? You know, I actually set down rules. So, you know, he gave me kind of the go-ahead. I started working up a lot of the rule sets, and I pulled a system called the Ubiquity system. And, you know, long story short, his expansion pack that came out with the Bug Legacy, well, the shipping involved took a lot of his time. He couldn't dedicate himself to working with the Bug Legacy RPG game. So I asked him formally, hey, can I, you know, I've already done about a little over 80 pages worth of work of balancing character development and creation. So from there, it went down to, I'm going to go ahead and take this and kind of turn it into my own baby. And I am a huge fan of World War I, World War II, a lot of the pulp stories, Dick Tracy, you know, a lot of the detective noir, even, you know, tossing in Casablanca, and then throwing in a bit of fantasy with it. And thus, Roan was kind of born from that, from this just stitching a lot of our own history and our own kind of seeing a lot of army hoorahs going, you know, hoo-ahs going out there.
Yeah, I mean, oh, by the way, VDrake77, are you new to the chat? Is this, I don't remember. If you are, welcome. If you're returning, welcome back. It's funny because actually it was through Buck Legacy originally that we got hooked up through Hodgkins.
Originally, I had told Harrison that, you know what, if you need, and this is for any of you who are going to want to work out with doing your own type of game development, the cover is extremely important. If the cover's not going to draw anyone's eye, you know, that's the first step. That's like trying to get those 10 seconds that you need to say why you want to be picked.
So what the heck is the cover art for Roan? Well, we've got it right here. And I think a lot of you guys have seen it before. It's in the opening part of the show. But this is what you're looking for.
And hopefully in a couple of months, you're going to have a new piece of artwork you're going to be, I hope, done. And that will be for the next book in the series.
Yes.
But we'll get to that later, though. So I guess one of the things that's kind of, at least for me with Roan, was going through the rules was, you know, I came from the classic kind of, you know, AD&D, RuneQuest, Mega Traveler, things like that. Lots of roll a d4, roll a d6, roll, you know, d20, do this, add 3, you know, go back. And it was a lot of complicated, you know, dice you had to do. And Ubiquity is actually a much more simpler system in many ways. It allows for much more fast kind of, you know, gameplay, a lot less table charts checking and everything like that.
Oh yeah, the easiest way to say is that Ubiquity kind of removes a lot of the crunchiness and aims for a very pulp experience.
It's very narrative.
Very narrative.
It's not simulation and it's not wargaming.
So the idea behind it is that, you know, to throw out an example, you have something called you can obtain style chips or style points. What you do with these chips, we use poker chips, is that they give you a couple, you know, each chip has a denomination, and you can use it to boost your dice, or you can use it to bribe the GM, and vice versa. And an example I always like saying is like taking a World War II experience, a bat pony's trying to find a Griffin sniper. And using this character's hearing, this character is able to roll successfully, and here's the sniper loading around. Well, the player holds up a couple of the chips and goes, you know what, to the GM, here's 4 chips. And you know what happens? The gun is going to jam. It's muggy, it's dirty, he hasn't been taking care of his rifle. Yeah. And so it's up to the GM. If he likes it, he takes these chips and goes, all right. And take care, Cretius. But if the GM likes the idea, he takes the chips and goes, all right. The gun jams the moment he sees, the moment he sets sights on you and fires. You have an extra turn to get to the Griffin and take action.
Actually, you're correct, McClaw. It is somewhat similar to the fame points used in the old 007 RPG. When he explained that, you know, whole concept, I've played a game like this, so that was kind of cool, actually.
Fate System's another one for folks who know Let's see, besides the Spirit of the Century, there's also the Dresden Files out of Fate, where utilizing Fate points, you use it to kind of sort of, though with the Fate system, the Fate chips are the center, of its world. Here, the style points can kind of play towards it or against.
Yeah. Mouse Guard has a similar system.
Yeah.
Where if the players do something dramatic, characterful, sticks to their character, even though it messes up their goals, they get points which they can later on spend in their favor.
Yeah,
First half of the adventure, you build up these character points, and then second half of the adventure, you spend them.
Yeah, it allows for this more cinematic pulp style adventure,
And it makes it cooperative.
Right. It's like, hey, I get to do the slow walk away from the explosion.
Oh, pretty
type
much.
thing. Yeah.
Well, and next to it, being clever, being creative earns you more points. But on the other side, the GM can use those points against you. Say you come to a scenario where you have a motivation that describes your character, and you're motivated by glory. Well, at some point, your friends are fixing to get jumped by a number of enemies, and you're like, well, I can warn them, but then the GM goes, but for 4 chips. Places 4 chips before you, there's that tempting bribe. 4 chips says that you're motivated by glory and you want to steal this glory for yourself. You can take them all on. And whether it's a great idea to take on this horde of soldiers or bad, you can take them on if you want and accept those 4 chips, because those 4 chips just might end up saving your life. And quickly to McClough, can you play as griffins? Certainly. We have actually a number of races besides the ponies, and even with the ponies themselves, we have a lot of variations of the pony types.
And actually, one thing I do want to make clear right now, Roan is not that based in any way, shape, or form on that very, very popular TV show that involves magical talking, candied colored.
That's crazy talk.
That's crazy talk. This is a completely different setting, a different world. You'll notice that none of the ponies have odd tattoos on their flanks.
Trademarks,
nothing like that at all. This is a completely different setting and a completely different world, and I want to make that clear right away. Actually, as far as showing like the skills and how you can do stuff, there's actually a very nice collection of sepia tone drawings that were done of actually a little nocturne. Going through basically,
showing off the primary attributes of the characters.
Exactly, and starting the day off not really very, very well.
Well, this so you folks should be seeing in just a second. This is a character in the book called Na Na Na.
And who's that pony? And the artist is?
Unfortunately, I can't remember the artist. But once again, that's the benefit, because I listed listed a lot of people in the credits here.
Exactly, and we wanted to show.
So what happens when we run into having a book with over 20 artists helping out?
Yes, but we wanted to make certain that we wanted to show that this was not just, hi, Baron did a lot of artwork on this book. No, there was lots of people involved in this. This project could not have happened without the team effort that made Roan.
I believe Sweet Cream from AskSweetCream.tumblr.com.
Right. But, this kind of shows, Na 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 basically waking up, Na 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 went down to the bar the night before. Maybe it had a lot of fun with her friends, but kind of paying for it now in the morning.
A couple, alcoholic mongos there.
Yes, and she, in the process of getting going, she's an alchemist. And she accidentally bumps her latest project.
Well, her secondary is alchemy. Her primary job, she's a demolitionist. So she's got something of a C4 concoction going on. And how this presents is, here's a character who wakes up, and when your character's drunk, you got to deal with using a stat called the body. And the body is essentially the ability of your physical toughness to handle an alcoholic drink. Going on from there, she accidentally bumped. We said that she bumped a table, knocks over a mixture of nitro, and this stuff is going to go boom. So you have to use dexterity to catch it. From there, starts having to run away. And so essentially the lot of the steps were showing off your character's strength, showing off their intelligence.
Because it gets heavier, if I remember correctly.
Pretty much, it is a heavy concoction. Has to hold it overhead.
Yeah.
And for many of those who might get the joke of a bat pony called Na 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 running with explosives over their heads, 10 points.
And of course, she has to use her wits to get the crowd out of the way. She's running out of town.
So charisma got the crowd out of the way. Intelligence was figuring out getting through it, and willpower is I can do it. I can do it without panicking.
Right. So she goes through this whole thing, and this wonderful set of 6 illustrations basically walks you through how do you go through and handle a situation in Roan. I thought that was actually a great bit of artwork and a great way of explaining the game.
Oh, I mean, once again, I'll give it to Sweet Cream and a number of folks here. Beautiful artwork. The speed of which they can do. One thing, even I doing 3D art, I will always envy traditional artists because I feel that, especially for 3D artists who had a traditional art background, there's a strength that they can pull from that.
Yeah, and of course, one thing's also cool. He talked about your motivation, and your motivation can be. It isn't like you're lawful good or you're chaotic evil or something like that. Your motivation is what you decide it's going to be.
Yep, the motivation helps your game master figure out what your character's central game plan is. Motivation could be you're motivated by glory, fame. So a lot of generic motivations can be thrown out there.
What can tempt your character? Yeah.
Can I see the rule book for a moment, just out of curiosity?
You may.
I'm trying to remember what, because Bettina had a motivation.
Something else that comes with the game is that there isn't, when it goes into it, not only do you have your motivation, there is also archetypes. So unlike Dungeons and Dragons and Pathfinder, many of the games that folks might be familiar with, even Fantasy Craft, archetypes essentially is whatever you want the character to become. So you could say, I'm going to be a military soldier. Your archetype is a soldier, and you can be motivated by duty. Or you could say you're motivated by revenge, such as, say, in a Pearl Harbor-esque atmosphere. A lot of soldiers were probably like, oh, gung-ho, let's go for revenge. Go against
And Cold Silver's correct. Yes, Bettina's motivation is hedonism, and her archetype is the mysterious madam. Because that's
her
how
secret little black book.
Oh, it's just her background. No one knows exactly where she came from. What? And so that's the fun thing about this is you can be. I'm the equivalent of my character is the mystic from the East. I came from Shangri-La. And I had this background. Is he from there or is he from someone from the West who came and learned the secrets of like the shadow or something like that? And he played mind games. So it really lets you create your character. You're not going, okay, I got to take something from column A and from column B and 2 from column C. And boy, I wish I could mix these up some other way. But you can't.
Well, and so the strength of the game system is that after you define your archetype, your motivation, you build up your primary attributes, which is based on a point system. You have 15 points. You spread it across these 6 stats until you get what you want. And from there, it will define your secondary attributes, which is essentially your things like perception, your initiatives. And how this kind of works is the system is balanced to kind of do its best to keep munchkins from trying to play numbers with the game.
Min-max.
Essentially. So you don't have dump stats like what you might run into with D&D. And mostly the only time you get something like dump stats and so on and so forth is really if the GM allows you to run into that. But, the other side of it, you get a dump stat, be prepared because a GM could really penalize you with that. And a clever GM will certainly do so.
By the way, hi, Jwangi. I don't know if you're new to the stream or not, but the guy talking, I'm BaronEngel, and this is Clear Skies, Robert Morris, the creator of the Roan RPG, and we're doing kind of a special stream tonight before BabsCon talking about the Roan RPG, and in a little while I'll actually be doing a bit of artwork.
Go to make a pony.
Yeah. We'll be creating it. Well, one of the things we'll be doing later on is we're actually going to create a character, and while he's basically showing you how you create the character, I'm going to be over here actually drawing the character. So welcome, Jwangi. Enjoy the evening. We usually do this on Saturday nights, but because the convention starts tomorrow night, we thought this would be a great way to kind of get folks excited about the concept.
Actually, I like what Orca's dropping here.
Yeah.
So, what you're seeing coming out of the smokestacks, essentially, it's not exactly smoke. So, at some point, the world ran into a major cataclysm. From this cataclysm, magic was introduced into the world. Beforehand, there wasn't magic, and during this time, it wasn't so much the Rowan states, the United Rowan states, but you essentially had the Rowan Empire. And during this time, you had the Canadians, you've had the Griffins, and at one point, the Rowans kept expanding because their thing was their ultimate weapon was the cavalry charge.
Oh, by the way, I also will point out at this point we only have to use once again that popular TV show that has talking pastel-colored ponies in it. We would have what we refer to as Earth ponies.
Yes, roadies. Actually.
Roadies.
Because the idea is that with originally with the Rowans, with the roadies, everywhere they went as a group, they trampled a trail. After a while, these trails, you just laid down stones. You had a road. They became roadies. That was their nickname.
Mm-hmm.
Following into that, they decided to go. They decided to go Alexander on everybody. They want to expand the Roman Empire. Well, the problem is the Canadians, and in cooperation with the Griffins, had
Thank you, Sakana.
they had gone ahead
Whatever you
and
say there, Sakana.
oh, Mr. Ed.
Yeah.
But they went ahead and they were able to evolve. They had the evolution of gunpowder.
Mm-hmm.
Well, like knights of old and cavalry, gunpowder, cannons, rifles will tear apart any cavalry, and so the Roman Empire was completely decimated, and a lot of the Roman ponies were taken as either slaves or indentured servants. Give it a little over 100 years, couple hundred years of slave labor, of all this going on. You then had an opening of magic leaking in. Don't know where, but certain races kind of started messing with the magic because they discovered that was there. They didn't know what it was. And the thing is from the other side of this unknown hole in this outer world, essentially, there were the great dragons. Well, they noticed that magic was leaking, and magic is theirs. So they made what for many of you will know as the Wardens. Wardens are essentially smaller drakes sent in as a police force of find out who's learning magic and get rid of them. We can't have that.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, once again, you have a ton of these Wardens going around, and they start meeting all these various races. Well, some of them stick to it and go, no, we will destroy. Others kind of started getting friendly, well, I don't want to destroy, maybe I can convince.
Mm-hmm.
And after a while, it's like, no, I don't want to now convince them because this is a gift. This is great. You had a great war come about, and essentially this would be the World War I of the world.
Mm-hmm.
And at this point, it came to it. So you had all the world at war. You had ponies were essentially thrown into
conflict.
they were the cannon fodder.
Mm-hmm.
They were thrown into the grinder because we have no other use for them, or they're janitors on airships, they're sweeping up, battleships and so on and so forth. What happened in the end? Nobody specifically knows. Everybody has their own theory of someone ascended. And somehow this ascension caused the cataclysm. Imagine if you had a bubble protecting our Earth, and outside that bubble was essentially ether, or this magical essence.
Imagine like the Van Allen radiation belt suddenly went bye-bye.
Oh, yeah. And instead of everybody suddenly just going boom, the entire world was laced with so much magic. Well, what we do know, or what you all will know from the storyline, is that the Rowans, what were originally just roadies, there were no Pegasi, no unicorns, no Kelpies, no Nocturnes.
Mm-hmm.
You had none of these.
Did you have zebras?
Yes, we did have zebras.
Okay.
We had the zebra. We had the zebra Dominion.
Just wanted to clarify that
zebra
because you can't play zebras too.
Yes, you can. And essentially, you could think of them as what if Africa had capitalism
Mm-hmm.
and were centralized.
And by the way, McClaw, no, there will not be an Andor Roan supplement. However, Clear Skies and I, nothing finalized, nothing signed, nothing agreed, but we are looking at the possibility of an Andor RPG. Leave it at that. But that's down the road. We've got Roan to work on.
Monkey, Kelpie. Kelpie is an Irish water horse. Now, unlike the Rowan Kelpies, which are certainly very Irish and very water horsey, the Irish folklore was essentially a Kelpie was a horse that looked magnificent, generally a white mare, more often than not. And people would be enticed by the pony. They would lay their hand upon it, and it would be like laying your hand upon the strongest super glue. And the next thing you know is the pony goes running and brings you into the ocean to be devoured. Not exactly a happy end.
No.
It's still a beautiful horse.
It's still a beautiful horse. But yeah, so in this universe, Kelpies are much more likable.
But so going into it, the cataclysm happened, and the roadies evolved. They became, it was a hyper evolution, but suddenly you had nocturnes that could see in the dark and were taking over ships because, well, while the brunt of the Canidian, the Griffin, or insert military, factions were on the ground. Oh, God, that one.
Yes.
When Clear Skies...
That's not Acme, that's a pearl.
That is a pearl. One thing to know about the... so, Clear Skies, you're seeing essentially my character there.
An anthro version, not the game pony versions, but yeah.
An anthropomorphic version of Clear Skies. And what's happened? Oh, hey,
Nate Dog. Nate, we got Nate Dog in the chat.
Hey, hope everything's going good at work for you, man.
Yes.
Nate Dogg is another one of the artists, and he was also kind of a consultant that I spoke with a lot about the game itself.
And also, too, I will also point out right now, Nate Dogg does a very nice podcast.
Yes, he does.
And it is some really great stuff that he talks about on there. So I would recommend checking out his podcast.
Yep, it is called Blood Code Radio, and some of the bigger celebrities that he's had, besides, me getting to sit in on some of the chats and things, are folks like Ellen McLean, who everybody knows as GLaDOS, as well as John Patrick Lowry, who is famous for the Sniper, as well as a couple of other Steam characters and much more.
Yeah, so thanks for joining us for the stream tonight.
Well, yeah, thanks for joining us, man. It's great to see you. And as you can tell, I am safe here in California.
Yeah. Bettina started experimenting for Anthro unicorn form. Of course, since then she's added all kinds. But that we could do a whole evening on just Bettina. Maybe sometime we should, but not tonight.
Oh boy, you're gonna spread the infection though.
Well, no.
He's a vector.
It's bringing enlightenment and to the world. That's what she sees.
I think those are things that some folks shouldn't learn about. Anyway, so
there's some things man are not meant to know. We don't really name one.
Oh yeah, Nate, if you want to drop Blood Code Radio, go ahead and drop a link for folks.
Right, yeah, drop a link.
So getting back to the end of the story.
Explain the thing about the pearls.
So quick thing on the Kelpies. The idea about Kelpies is a lot of them, when they're first born, a lot of them are born in the water. And for a time, as they're growing up, they like playing in the water, going through the rivers, sometimes even going through oceans if they can. And now we got it shown enough. Another artist, great. I'm never going to finish. So quickly to finish before we start dropping down about some of the artists that we've got dropping in, is that with the Kelpies, after swimming around, they start collecting. Some of them will get very smooth pebbles. Some will get gems or even pearls embedded into their neck and along their body. But the thing is that no two Kelpie is ever the same, and they're always in intricate swirls, not squirrels. That would be weird. But almost like looking at gazing up at the stars in the skies and seeing constellations. Anyway, big shout out to Shonuff, another great artist, and he's also a runner of. He has his own streams that he does about 3 to 4 times a week, and he is, he's got a famous comic series that's going to be hitting the internet at some point, based on 2 characters called Squeak and Shred, who work at. Well, Shred, who works at the Brick House. Squeak's a little too young to be working at a bar.
Right. So, and also just for some of the new folks like Duskwatch and some of the Enjawangi, one of the things about how we do the show here is we do 1-hour segments. So we take a little 5-minute break, give a chance for people to get up, get something to drink, stretch your back out, take a bio, come on back, and we'll take it from there. So just want to let people know that there. So yeah, so you've got these really cool classes, and Roan, basically we have the Ascension, we have the
and this is just the ponies for the most part,
right? And like I say, you can play the Canadians.
Yep, the play on words, the Canadians.
Yes.
So a lot of Canadians, eh?
Yeah.
And they're not sorry.
Yeah, and you've got the got the Griffins. You can play the Griffins. You've got the
Some of the other
Mirages.
books. Yeah, you have the Mirages. Essentially, with the Kickstarter that Rowan was, Rowan had a successful Kickstarter. I gave the option to people to vote in additional races that they want to see. And the biggest winners we had the Mirages, which essentially is, think the Changelings meets the Sahara. A very Middle Eastern. Very
very much Arabian Nights style.
Yes, very much so.
And very much a lot of customs of culture and everything like that. They're very gracious. They're very polite because you never know when you invite someone into your house who they are. They can't even tell who each other are.
Oh, exactly. And of course, I want to, he's probably at work at this point, but a friend of mine, Matthew Steen, was the writer for the Mirages and their entire history, their background. I would certainly say I love the work that he did. And next to that, the next group that was voted in was the automatons, specifically pony automatons, which ranged between, you have the basic cyborgs, the organic automatons of ponies who had their bodies robocopped. You have ether automatons, so machines that suddenly had a soul, almost Ghost in the Shell like, spirits within a machine. And then you had Arcano automatons, which are ancient pony machines that just woke up. Nobody knows who made them or how they came to be.
Yeah. So you've got all these really fascinating, races you can play, and they interact with each other. And then of course there is the especially for the first book, they're definitely in the background. There's something talked about. You hear people at bars. They're kind of like old sailors' tales and everything like that. But most people don't really believe that they're there, but they are.
Pretty much. Which,
lurking.
Taking with Praro Jazdi. So he's asking, they are asking, I may have missed something. Did any non-pony species get differentiated by the magic? In this case, there is a race called the Rotvarians. Essentially, during the Cataclysm, it was a mixture of not only the Cataclysm, but the war that was going on. A lot of death spells were being thrown around, and similar to the trenches of World War I, a lot of trench rats going about, feasting on the dead. Dead that were laced with poisonous miasmas from the dragons, and magic, and just the overall general feeling of the war. Because just like anything else, magic always seems to be maybe emotional.
Mm-hmm. It twisted them.
Pretty much. The Rotvarians became something of a very Cthulhu-ish, morphology going on. This hyper-evolution that never seems to go correctly. Inspired somewhat by the Skaven. The idea with the Rotvarians is that they absorb this. They love breeding chaos because they absorb a lot of the turmoil, because it soothes them of their pain. The chaos that they have in their body causes immense pain, which causes their mutation. Well, the problem is that by gaining more chaos to soothe the pain, it's only just worsens them.
It's magical heroin.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Basically, unfortunately, I got a lot of people who are addicted to drugs. Basically, you have to take a larger and larger dose to basically make it go away. But you pay a price down the road, and after a while, you start accruing interest, and it starts basically steamrolling on you. I actually rather deliberately didn't, even though I think, are you maybe rummaging through our old
looking to see if there's some Rotvarians.
Yeah, exactly. I kind of came in on them. One thing you have to understand, when he approached me originally, it was like he knew my tech work. He's on my tech work.
And loved your tech work.
And he's like, I want Baron to do some of the tech work. I want this. And his ponies are pretty good too. And one Saturday we were kind of sitting around, just shooting the breeze, chit-chatting about, this, that, and the other. And he was talking to me about the Radivarians. And I was going, Okay. And you sent me one piece of artwork that someone else had done.
Stedelnick did.
Stedelnick.
Did a couple of the beginning ones. We had essentially a Rotvarian sort of noble. We had a Ratsputin.
Yeah.
Ah, clever.
Yeah. And so I was kind of looking at the artwork going, okay, am I understanding this correctly? And quite often what I'll do if I'm trying to, really wrap my head around a concept is I'll go, okay, I got this drawing here. I'm going to see if I can recreate the drawing. So I did this drawing. I said, is this what we're talking about? And he went,
ooh, what you had presented. Ooh.
And I said, so we're talking about this. And I just started throwing this stuff at me. He goes, okay, fine, you're doing Ratovarians.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, it was what you brought was, I would definitely say, to me, very inspired by John Carpenter's The Thing. I mean, terrifying when it comes down to it. And the other side of it was the biggest reason why I brought about the Ratvarians. I wasn't really thinking of Warhammer Fantasy Skaven.
No.
What came to my mind was it's European folklore that, if I remember, it really exploded during a lot of the plague with the rats. Mm-hmm. Is that at one point you would have so many rats crawling all over each other, their tails would intertwine and kind of come together and form what they called a crown of rats, because it would be a knot of tails with rats just scrabbling all over the place. Mm-hmm. It could be German or Scandinavian. Again, I might be wrong, but I know it is European folklore. Mm-hmm. And the thing is that I went, well, what if this was a hive mind? What if this king of rats, essentially, the Rat King, was a central hive mind, was the only thing that could sort of tame a Ratvarian. Mm-hmm. Maybe. Yeah. I mean, so far that's the most that we know from the stable of intelligence, the intelligence from the intelligence sector for the Roans.
Right. And so, one thing that's going to be kind of fun, not too much of a spoiler, but...
Oh, thanks, Monkey.
Yeah.
So apparently it's German.
Yeah. And so one of the things that's going to be coming out of the next Roan book is yours truly here gets to do the Ratovarians. Mm-hmm.
And actually being added to them, Nate Dogg came up with some interesting ideas, and we have crows, essentially like the plague doctors, the plague crows, coming in from, so you have Ratvaria and then you have Croatia.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, and I've already got some ideas on that, too.
Oh, nifty. Well, that'd be kind of fun to see how you guys juggle it around.
Yeah, well, I want to talk to Nate Dogg about that. Mm-hmm. So, that's, where that's going from. But, that's evil, dark, Cthulhu,
you're seeing one of the, seeing one of the Devourers.
Yes.
And the idea is that a lot of them are based on the 7 deadly sins. Mm-hmm. So you could have multiple mixtures of sins. So lust and gluttony, and a lot of you folks might be thinking that this sounds very Full Metal Alchemist. I hope not, because it's not the aim that I have, though Full Metal Alchemist had kind of a cool idea going with the different, essentially the puppets that they had.
Yeah.
The homunculi.
Yeah, the homunculi.
Yep.
Yes. So, but you can play some the exhibit here actually coming up.
Yeah. One of the war ponies.
Yeah, it's not all military adventure. There is military adventure, but we have this bomber pone here. Now, just so you know, this actually is a Pegasus. This isn't like some Earth pony who has to play a one-shot smart bomb.
it'd be pretty hectic. But hey, think about it. An Earth pony lands on a cloud, waits for a target, just floats along, and just unclips and drops the bomb.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that's kind of cool about Roan is that you've got, okay, I'm a Pegasus, I can fly, cool. We got aircraft, better, airships. So you can really have a thing of, okay, tomorrow we are going to attack the enemy's fleet. We want to try to infiltrate, like special forces on board the airship that night and maybe plant some, explosives and engineering or something like that. And when
a lot of lipid mines all over Skyship.
And right before a critical moment when our ship, our fleet comes out of the fog bank or something like that, these bombs go off, suddenly disrupt, the guys as they're jockeying their position. And of course, the airships, they've got their Pegasus, and they're trying to keep that from happening. And you've got your aircraft that are flying out to try and detect the fleets and everything. So you've got this multi-layers of how the combat is playing out. And yet, at the same time, we've gone a long ways to try and, you've made a lot of effort at trying to make the combat not Advanced Squad Leader. If any of you guys out there are war gamers, you should know that name. I have a roommate, Rindus. He's a great guy. I love him. But I watch him play Advanced Squad Leader, and I'm going, I just did that last week. It's called my taxes. I get money back at least for doing this. We weren't going to have that with Rome. We wanted to have it more like that quick, fast,
Well, and the system caters to a very fast style of gaming. So what happens in combat is that you take your skill. So say firearms, you take your total dice force for that skill, firearms. Let's say 8. You have the weapons lethality. You add that, and that's your total dice pool, including any bonuses that you might have obtained or any chips that you add to it.
Mm-hmm.
You roll it all together, and then the player counters against it with their defensive roll.
Mm-hmm.
And in the case of firearms, you have armor penetration, which
Mm-hmm.
counters armor.
Mm-hmm.
Armor itself is able to only deflect certain damages. So unlike like a fantasy game where armor seems to just have an overall deflects mostly armor seems to only ever add to AC.
Mm-hmm.
So it increases, which kind of has always been. So the difference here is like if you go as a character with heavy Kevlar, you are going to be slowed down,
Mm-hmm.
but you will be able to deflect bullets.
Mhm.
It's not going to do anything against the sword.
That's exactly right, Cold Silver. This can be, you can do with World War Row and World at War. You're looking at, stuff up to like,
The biggest is platoon size. So essentially, Roan World at War is looking at, instead of developing a player, you create a platoon. You and your friends together form a company. And how this works is you kind of begin on a big size. You start with platoons and you move as a company. You take, let's say, Bastogne. We're going to throw that name out there from World War II. You encircle Bastogne because you know that there are special V2 rockets in there.
Mm.
Well, once you've encircled it, that part of the company combat is done. The platoons are done with. You now go to your player characters who are the special forces or the resistance.
Your Clint Eastwood and your Tony
Kelly heroes going in there.
Savalas, you're going in there, and now you're the cool stuff. So you've done all the nuts and bolts, and you've got the area secured. Now it's time for your guys to go forward and do the pulp adventure with the grenades in your teeth, and
I like where Cold is going.
Yeah.
Just like taking with America when we dealt with a lot of inner conspiracies going on of Japanese populace and German populace and so on and so forth. Especially with the rat variants, when they can change their face and even look like a pony depending on which version you're running into, certainly can lay the seeds of just panic and chaos.
Fifth columnists, all kinds of stuff you can play around with it. So yeah, it's fun because we're doing this where we want to make it fast and quick. We want to have more, more like Dum Dum McDougan's, and
kind of like the event. Well, taking Captain America,
right?
With that crew.
Yeah, if you want to argue over nitty gritties of Panther tank front glacial armor versus American 76 millimeter high explosive rounds, go play Advanced Squad Leader. You won't be happy with runs. But if you want to just I want to play Inglorious Bastards. I want to play Where Eagles Dare. I want to play
Battle of the Bulge, The Longest Day, so on and so forth. Those options are out there. Even taking things like Dick Tracy, or if you want to get very pulpy, Casablanca. Quick thing towards Pravo. If I did say Earth Pony, I meant Pegasus, but it doesn't mean an Earth Pony can't use magic to be able to walk on a cloud, because that's one thing, is that unlike a certain magical cartoon show with ponies, in the world of Rowan, everyone has...
Hey, Mad Badger!
Oh, hey, Mad! But everyone has access to magic. It is a class, they have to study into it, but everybody has access to it, so they're able to take advantage of that.
Mm-hmm. And there's skills too. Actually, we have a nice little collection of once again wonderful illustrations done for the Roan RPG, and there are just there's page after page after page after page. This is fun.
There was art made for every single skill, but of course every single skill couldn't be catered to because that was going to drive the layout artist insane with trying to, because I'm going to give it
That's
to
not a drive, it's a short putt.
I'm going to give it to so we have him, we got him here, Cat's Paw. Cat's Paw did a tremendous job in organizing this book, doing its layout, and it was kind of his idea of the sort of newspaper-ish like texture, which really plays to kind of, feels like that authentic 1920s kind of book.
Yeah, you can almost imagine in some ways the the little little urchin on the street corner with the little cap and everything. Actually, kind of like one of the pieces of artwork I did of Maine Coon.
Oh, indeed.
Yeah.
Having the the joke that we always had is that it's the newsie.
Yeah, the newsie. Extra, read all about it.
Well, and just to send out a little bit of credit, so the artwork for a lot of these skills here was done by a friend of mine who goes by the name of Zilof, Zilof. Tremendous artist. He used to have a Lyra and Bon Tumblr. It got closed down because, well, unfortunately, Tumblr sometimes gets very acidic, and during about the third year of My Little Pony, Tumblr got some huge tidal waves running through it, which was unfortunate for a lot of artists.
And he got washed away.
He was one of those that got washed away, which is unfortunate because he has beautiful artwork that I definitely love, and I do respect him as kind of another gamer who knows his thing when it comes to game development and so on and so forth.
Yeah. And
so these skills then would be acrobatics, alchemy, politics, fashion,
diplomacy.
Diplomacy, fashion, chutzpah, and Miyazaki.
And also, too, just so I mentioned Maine Coon. Of course, one of the things we had during the Kickstarter was that certain backers who pledged a certain amount of money could have characters put into the rulebook. And Sura, who's in our chat, actually this was their character. And so we put, that's Maine Coon. And like I say, dressed like the newsie. And,
It was about to become the story.
So, once again, there was some great people who came up with some really great ideas and sent some stuff in for...
Oh yeah, we had a lot of people, because not only did we have people who got to have a character with a profile and stats, we had also just character art that was done, and we had one major winner who put in a large amount, who goes by Morse Apple, who I'm still throwing out contacts to, because he still has a beautiful piece of sketch work of the front cover from Baron. Of course, the only issue is that he is all the way out in Hawaii. But you know what? Wish him the best. He is part of the Silent Service, and a lot of respect towards that.
And I will admit, the Roan RPG was a well-paying job for me, and it got me some nice connections. But I will admit that, Clear Skies here also did kind of groom my ego just a little tiny bit. And he did let me put one character into the game. It's a character...
She wouldn't stop yelling at me.
Yeah. Your folks are probably familiar with her. You might have seen her once or twice in my posting of my work, And Patina. Patina is a character you can play in Roan.
Or play with.
Yes.
Or be the plaything of.
Yes. She is the owner of a big airship, combination cruise ship, casino,
Kamala High Club,
brothel called Heavenly Body. And, she's... I have many hopes of many adventures being played there at the Heavenly Body. We purposely set up both her background and how the entire thing operates. It's designed to have fun. So, we are coming up on 7:30. I think we should take a break here.
Take our first break.
And then when we come back, we will have Clear Sky here.
Let's manufacture ponies.
And I'll start drawing the character he starts creating. And of course, if you guys still have questions, feel free to chime in. One of the reasons why we wanted to do this stream tonight is we know we've only got 45 minutes at BabsCon. We're not going to be able to answer every question that's going to possibly come up. And we want people to really understand what the game is about and why it's special and why we think people would love playing it. So we're going to be back in 5. Get up, stretch, move around, hydrate yourself, stuff like that.
One thing I definitely say is, you know what, from the crowd, if you can think up of a pretty cool pony name, and we'll see what I can work out of 'em.
Right.
But hold on till we say so, because we're about to be somewhere else for a couple minutes.
Yes.
Oh, take it easy, Nate, and good luck with work.
Yeah.
All right. Back in 5, folks.
Bye.
We are back.
Hello, everyone.
Yes. Lars's is step away making old fashioned. Yeah, that was the cocktail that when my Uncle Ron introduced me to cocktails when I was 15. Well, my family came from a background. Yes, it's not the legal, way, society in the U.S. says you should do it. But my family was very much of the viewpoint that if you demystify it and it's not forbidden fruit and they understand what it is and how you're supposed to enjoy it, you're less likely to go out and do really stupid stuff. Now, I will admit, I was a young male, and when I got into college and turned 21, yeah, I did some stupid. I never really did the spectacular stupid stuff. So, anyway.
Found a place for everything, and it's called college.
Exactly. So, we are back, and as we promised,
Oh, quick thing. Whose DA account are you asking for, Monkey?
yeah.
A lot of artists on this channel.
Yeah.
So.
Clear Skies does have a DA account. There is also the Roan RPG group on DA.
I think they're looking for
going for
thwaites.
thwaites.
Okay.
All right.
Right.
Just had to make sure.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So we were going to talk about making you a character.
All right. So, how about some names?
And types. What type of character would you like to have created by the creator of Roan? Old Fashioned was a good name for a pony, by the way. Yeah?
Kind of up there with a friend of mine who had salty shores.
Sure Shot, Sky Dancer, Pina Colada, Pegasus Pony. I'm
If I'm not mistaken, wasn't Pina Colada supposed to be the name of Berry Punch?
I think so.
Because I believe that was Pina Colada is Lauren
Does it have to be a
Powell's
pony?
favorite drink.
No. No. It does not have to be a pony.
But I figure for this one, we're going for the Rowan. We're going for the Rowan state.
Okay, so
we'll represent.
Okay, so we're going for the Roan. Okay, we are going for Roan. Cheese fudge.
It's up there with cheese sandwich.
Okay, that's now moved there. So now you can see his beautiful Rick.
Yes.
We don't have crystal ponies in Roan.
Not specifically. That one, I mean, if you wanted to, you could do something of the Arcanotech pony, a
True.
pony that is made up of the
True.
ether crystals, essentially.
We have Pilgrim's Path, a Pegasus. I guess maybe the first thing we should do we want to do a Rhodey? Do we want to do a unicorn? Do we want to do a Pegasus? Do we want to do a Kelpie? Do we want to do a zebra? Maybe that might be a nocturne. Maybe that might be a bear. Narrow it down that, then we'll pick out a name.
Well, I mean, it looks like we got a couple folks who are liking the name Sky Dancer.
Okay. And that would be...
Pinot Noir.
Yeah.
Thank you for the correction.
Now we're going for Lauren, who is a Pinot monster.
Yes.
I'm going to do this real quickly. Force refocus. Sweet. Because the camera is being a butt.
All right. Okay. So, are we looking at a Pegasus here or a Nocturne? I hear a call for a Nocturne.
I see Zebra. I see Kelpie. I know I heard Nocturne a couple times.
Yes.
I'm going to cheat.
You're going to...
Just watch your shoulder here.
I will stay as much out of the way as I can, sir. See, guys, once again, he just talks about he pushes buttons and hits things and makes things happen. Caradwin here is doing something so I don't have to worry about it. There's Clear Skies. So we can take care of tech support.
Yes, getting a little bit tech magic going.
Yep.
Yep, unfortunately, this is the cheap camera that doesn't like to focus quite as well. So I'm just going to move this around, rattle bang, excuse me. There you go. There.
Got another call for a Nocturne.
Force that focus. Let me see if I can turn
That
this
would be a
correctly.
character in the game, RE, and we're trying to stick to stuff that you'd be playing in the game.
move this way, and there we go. You may. Thank you.
But of course, I'm going to let the final choice of what class he wants to play to. This guy back here. All right.
Ooh, Sky Cancer would.
That's called Los Angeles. I came from there.
Be an assassin. Let's see. I mean, I'm seeing Kelpie. I'm seeing Pegasus. I'm seeing Nocturne. You know, I'm gonna need
Here's a question for you, Clear Sky.
D6 for this one.
Yeah, okay, that's one way to. Yeah, we're gonna do it. We're doing it the game way.
There we go. And by the way, Rowan can be played with any dice. It's the benefit of the ubiquity system. The easiest way to describe it is playing a game with flipping a coin. More often than not, the game favors people who utilize a D8 for the game. But either way, it's mostly evens are a 1 and odds are a 0. So again, it's like flipping a coin.
Mm-hmm. No, Ari, it would not really be. Basically, Ari wants to know if you could make.
I agree with Monkey here. Let's go with a Kelpie. We haven't really seen Kelpies drawn in the stream.
Mm-hmm.
You see everything else,
Yeah.
because Kelpies aren't really a part of that world. At least the most I saw from their comics of the Magical Pony world wasn't exactly a correct Kelpie.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, you can't make like hybrid species stuff, Ari. It doesn't work that way.
One big ropey chromosome.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Disney genetics.
doing the rules for that currently is a bit of a challenge, trying to get the idea of, well, what if you want a roadie that just happens to have a little bit of Nocturne in them? It would be a lot of juggling of their central racial talents that they obtain.
One from
During,
column A, two
creation.
from column B.
Hey, Metro, glad you could join us.
Hello, welcome.
We're going to be doing a Kelpie. All right, sounds like Kelpie is on the.
Okay, so that is over here. So, just to give an idea, folks, here we are. Got ourselves a male and female Kelpie-like character here.
All right. So, you think about doing a male or a female Kelpie?
What do you think, folks? Do we want ourselves a male or a female?
We want a mare or a stallion Kelpie?
You know what? We'll go ahead and give it evens is a mare, odds is a stallion.
There you go.
Let's see what we get. Odds, it's a stallion.
Okay, we're doing a stallion.
Wow,
All
that
right.
just plunked right onto that.
Yeah, those are combat dice, as in you can bounce them off the game master's head if you don't.
Hey, Tebow,
if you fail your save.
Hey, Tebow, glad you could tune in tonight. We're having lots of fun here. We're doing basically a Roan RPG night, and Clear Skies over here is going to start creating a Kelpie Stallion, and as things come together, I'm going to start drawing it. We're going to be doing this double-edge attack this thing.
All right, so just to kind of give a listing.
Oh, by the way, I got the right glasses on, too. So none of you people in the street, did you put the right glasses on? Yes, I have.
All right, so kind of starting off. So a Kelpie begins with 3 racial talents. One is mental flow. The benefit of that is that if one chooses to, you can take... So with building a character, you have 15 points that you can spread across these 6 main attributes. The lowest you can go is a 1. The highest you can go is a 5. With mental flow, similar to certain talents of other races, mental flow allows me to increase a Kelpie's intelligence up to 6. So I can choose to put 6 points into intelligence instead of 5 points. It's not that you get a +1 to your intelligence. You merely have an increase, a +1 increase to the maximum roof during creation.
Yeah, actually, we will eventually do a plug, or probably during the second break. Since this is kind of not as much art oriented, we're not doing as big of a thing for the my usual sponsor. Anyway, continue.
I'm trying to get the contrast up here. That's why. Wow, wow, wow.
Yeah.
Well, Corwin, the benefit of the game when it comes to magic is that you can only cast magic that your character can essentially physically, through sheer willpower, cast out. If they try to go above what they are able to, they incur non-lethal damage to the point where they just pass out. So you get a level 1 a level 1 combat mage who wants to summon meteor. He's going to knock himself out right, the moment the incantation even begins. Plunk, he's gone. Oh no, you're witnessing a character creation, and we're gonna kind of talk about like campaigns and little tips and tricks that you can enjoy pulling as a player or even as a GM.
Mm-hmm.
So right now I'm just kind of explaining our character chosen as a race is a Kelpie, and what name did we want to go with for this Kelpie? And it is a stallion, so gonna need a male name here, and like I said, Salty Shores was already taken from my friend Nate. Essentially the Dr. Bones of the world.
That's right. They've got that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm going through and I'm looking at some stuff, just going, okay, let's remember. We have this, we have that. On Kelpie.
That's four.
I've only drawn a few Kelpies, so I want to make sure I do my Kelpie right.
By the way, note cards, very, very helpful. So I see Wave Dancer, Shore Leave, Pina Colada Smoosha. Oh, I almost like Shore Leave.
Yeah.
I see Shore Leave. You know what? Let's go with Shore Leave. That is a good name.
Yeah, that's what I remember. Okay, good. Okay.
Oh no, curses. The weakness of every pencil, breaking its lead.
Clicky, clicky, clicky. It's a mechanical, right?
Yes, it is.
That's why I love mechanical pencils.
All right. So,
Should move that back forward. I mean, that sounds better than the idea I had, which was Flotsam and Jetsam.
oh dear.
What?
All right, so another benefit of a Kelpie is they have the aquatic adaptation, which essentially just means that can breathe underwater.
Nickname him Trieste.
Actually, the name we got was Shore Leave.
There you go.
Yeah, that was a good one. And also, now this was a fun piece, is that the Kelpies, kind of embracing that Irish folklore, have a final racial talent called Luck of the Kelpie, which essentially allows them to allow the success or failure when it comes to rolls. So, for someone who wants to have a very comedic timing, can pretty much go with a pretty hefty fail or success.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, this comes down to, once again, you roll a single die, you're flipping a coin. Heads, you succeed automatically. Tails, you fail. And you can generally only do this once per session.
Yeah, that's one thing I was keeping in mind is, don't go too overboard with this. It's just
Oh, no.
little advantage.
So there are advantages with different characters. The other one that I do like is when it comes to Rowan RPG over here in Europe. Well, there's a couple folks who actually have the Rowan RPG out in Europe.
Mm-hmm.
You can get it on Drive-Thru RPG or go to the website at www.rowanrpg.com.
Mm-hmm.
It has a link to Drive-Thru RPG where you can purchase the PDF. At some point after we do some cleanups and some fixes, we're looking at actually having the book available through Drive-Thru RPG, which I believe they do international sales as well. But so continuing with this character, we are going to go into let's go ahead and pick an archetype. So an archetype could be something like a detective, a soldier, a rogue, a thief, a vagabond,
A reporter,
a
a physician, a professor.
You've got
Game
prisoners,
designer.
rebels.
Game designer.
Game
Why
designer,
would anyone want to play
interesting.
that?
Social Zero.
Well, with a character like Shoreleaf, so far I'm seeing Sailor, which sounds like it fits. I'm seeing Sailor twice, so you know what?
Lifeguard.
Well, we got Sailor, so
Okay.
we got Pirate. I remember. McClaw is a member of the Shore Patrol. But you know what? I saw Sailor twice, so you know what? Keeping this going quickly, we'll go with Sailor. So this fella.
I'm not gonna have to do some cross dresser in a sailor outfit, right?
Wrong kind of sailor.
Okay.
Aw.
Oh, what? What are you doing to me? See, motivation is another thing that we come across. Motivation could be they're motivated by adventure, fame, fortune. There's
A sense
guilt,
of justice.
sense of justice, or honor.
Mm-hmm.
It can be motivated by revenge or love or loyalty. What sounds like a good motivation for this soldier?
Or sailor.
Or the sailor. Well, it's a soldier of the sea.
Good. Could be merchant marine.
Merchant marine, true.
Could be the Gordon Fisherman.
Motivated by rum, partying, bloodlust. Let's go party. You know what?
Okay.
Partying is a good motivation. This is a character that just loves to have a good time.
Looks forward to shore leave.
So that is both a positive. You know, this could be someone who's pretty good at bringing together folks, you know, for parties. But his major flaw is, he's going to get snookered.
Yep.
Gullible.
All right, so as said before, we start off with 15 points. Well, since we're going with a sailor, we're probably going to look at a character that, you know, is going to be okay with their intelligence, but is definitely going to have to be active in both their body and even their dexterity and their strength. Now, once again, the body attribute affects a lot of the character's health. It also affects the character's ability to take on things such as if they're poisoned or if they're drunk. Dexterity affects a character's ability to be dexterous, to aim, to catch objects, to throw, you know, pretty much aiming, sometimes even some of the gunnery. Now, going with strength quite obviously is their ability to pick something up and break it, or, you know, bench pressing a barrel of cider.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to go ahead and kind of fit in a couple of numbers here that I think will best fit this character. So I kind of imagine that out of the 15 points that we're going to be given here, once again I'm going to use the magic of note cards for recording these points.
And yes, if you happen to hear a little bit of music there in the background, that's Kieran went over there on the keyboard.
I'm giving you undersea music.
Yes, and Cold Silver, yeah, sometimes depending upon your local service and everything, it can take a few minutes. We're streaming at our normal upload, so it's just twinkling down.
All right. Well, and unfortunately, I would definitely say that sometimes Picarto does an update, and Picarto is trying to, you know, convert a lot of things of, I believe, as I was told, Flash into HTML5, and, you know, that's putting stuff through a grinder. It is Flash.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so, all right, so I've gone ahead and made this character physically balanced and even mentally balanced. So he's going with 3s in his body, dexterity, and strength, and 2s in his charisma, intelligence, and willpower. This doesn't strictly mean that he's an idiot or that he's bad at charisma or he's a fool. This just means, in a sense, he's kind of average.
Okay, we do have a question in the stream, which I think does need to be answered.
Yes.
Roan ponies basically have the equivalent of those like gecko-type hooves that in that one TV show of talking ponies? They can kind of pick things up and everything with their hooves.
Wilkinson effect.
I would definitely say, in a way, yes. And the way I'd like to kind of have it looked at is it's almost like an extension of their natural body. There's a natural magic in everything. So with the ponies, there's kind of a magic that maybe if you could see it, it would look like kind of like small tendrils reaching out from the bottom of their hooves that allow them to just grip things. And it's kind of a natural instinct that they're able to reach out and pick something up in this kind of ether field. But it's very minor. It's almost a extremely weak variation of doing telekinesis.
Like body contact levitation almost.
Very, very much so. Of course, there are the bigger geniuses that went ahead and made an invention called hands, which are known as hydraulically articulated pneumatic devices.
You guys might have seen the manipulators that I have done, the light, the heavy, and the medium manipulators, and those are all basically devices that further enhance and give ponies a better grasp on the world.
Pretty much. They need to take advantage because being able to grab stuff, no matter how good their little ether fields are, actually having a good grip on stuff is pretty important, especially when the rest of the world has the advantage of utilizing their own claws or paws.
Yeah, it's not so much that they've got like little tentacle. It's like more magical extensions that can reach out and grab something. So it's not like suddenly your pony's gonna suddenly have like a sea anemone attached to its hoof or something like that.
Then again, if one was very creative in their imagination, it could be a horrifying thing to see in its its ether field.
Yes.
All right, so after having the basic primary attributes built up, next we come to secondary attributes. Well, this character would essentially, we're coming down to the basic size. General size for your average pony starts at a 0. Now there's a talent called the Clydesdale. That talent allows you to increase your size to 1. Or if you chose the flaw of foal, essentially your child, a filly or a colt, you go to a -1 in size. Well, this guy we're gonna give him an average, a 0 for his size.
So about normal build.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I don't have to start bulking this guy up too much.
No, he's not ridiculously bulked, but he certainly seems trained by the sea.
Yeah.
So now, next most important thing out of any type of RPG game is your perception. Perception here takes your intelligence and your willpower.
The most rolled skill in any game.
Mm-hmm.
Give me a perception roll. Do I notice? I'm searching for. Don't skimp on your perception, folks.
I is clueless.
All right. Next up, we've got our movement. Movement is strength and dexterity. So, essentially your dexterity is being able to put your one hoof in front of the other, and of course strength is being able to push yourself off that ground. So we've got a total of 6. So this bugger can move pretty well. Initiative, being able to go first. It's dexterity and your intelligence, because it's not only being able to react quickly, it's knowing that you need to react quickly.
And what you need to do at that moment.
Exactly.
Run, circle, scream, and shout does not count as initiative.
Now we have defense. Defense is your body and your dexterity minus the character size, because of course the bigger a character is, the easier it can be to hit, even though being bigger means they generally have more health.
Yes, you're correct, McClaw. Being able to anticipate your opponent's actions is a way of gaining initiative.
Yes, it is. So now something important to know when it comes to defenses. Body is generally known as a passive defense, while dexterity is known as your active defense. More often than not, your body won't always be taken away from you, but your active defense can be denied. So to illustrate that, right now this character with their body and of course their dexterity would be a defense 6. But let's say someone entangled them in a net. That can actually deny them their dexterity bonus. So instead of a 6 defense, their total defense would only be a 3. So this is kind of the creativity that goes into the defense system. It's about as advanced as things can go for it. And of course, next up we have magic defense. And we go ahead and take willpower, magic defense 2. Next up, we do our character's stun. Now, stun essentially is if non-lethal damage is done to this character, how much can they take before they are considered knocked out? So things like a bar brawl, So this guy can hold his own. You know, he might be able to take a bottle or two before he goes down.
He's a sailor.
Yes, he is. And finally, we've got health, which is body, willpower, and size. So, taking that, body and willpower, this guy has a health total of 5.
By the way, Carried One, folks are liking the music.
I'm cheating. I'm using both the keyboard and the guitar at the same time.
He calls that cheating. That's multitasking.
Yes.
That's
I have
kinda
a sustain
brilliant.
pedal.
That's still impressive.
Yeah, keep it up.
All right, so now comes to actually fleshing out our character. For everybody who would know, just like in D&D, it's not so much just the stats that define the character's abilities; it's your skills. So we've got ourselves, a sailor. So we're gonna kind of work down the list here. I imagine being a sailor, this guy's gonna probably have to be pretty athletic, because we're also talking about, you know, the case of falling into the sea and needing to swim out. So I'm gonna kind of just jot down a couple of the skills that I think kind of fit, and then what happens next is, just like with primary attributes, you've got 15 skill points that I can spend on any of these skills. I will take those skills, add it with whatever their base is. So athletics, its base is strength. Add whatever my skill levels are, total it, and that will give me my total dice pool when I roll athletics. Well, I would say so, because sure he can breathe under the water, but he can just mostly walk good. You know, it's the same thing as saying, like, there have been birds out there that, because they haven't been taught well, fly either terribly or can't fly at all. And the easiest thing to look at this is also, swimming is natural. This is essentially, say, he gets thrown into whitewater rapids, or he falls off the boat into the middle of a storm, and he needs to swim back up to the surface and not be slammed into the ground.
Or
how good of a swimmer is he?
Or one of his roadie shipmates goes overboard, and he has to go in the water and bring him back. I'm trying to remember, do we have a lifeguard as a skill?
Not specifically lifeguard, because that would be more of an archetype.
Right, but swimming, swimming could be a thing. I need to go save somebody who is.
Well, swimming is part of athletics.
Yeah.
Because athletics kind of features a whole group of essentially specializations. Now, within the book, specializations are shown, such as with athletics, you've got climbing, galloping, or running. If you're not a pony, it'd be weird to see a Canadian gallop. Mm-hmm. They run on all. Certainly they run on all fours, but they don't gallop. Yeah. Jumping, swimming, and throwing. Those are considered specializations, and these are merely examples of specializations. With Game Master permission, you could present a case as to why something else would fit within athletics as a specialization, or firearms, or driving, or any of those things. Mm-hmm. So, we got athletics here. I definitely see this guy. What do you think? I see him as a brawler. Once again,
Too much time in the shoreside bar.
Oh, yes.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think, folks? Do you think the sailor would have some use of firearms?
Kind of hard to learn that underwater.
Well,
again,
good night, Rebel.
Good night, Rebel. Thanks for tuning in tonight.
Oh, well, someone said sees him as a gambler. You know what? We'll add that.
Maybe small arms.
So, you know what? I'll next to that, I will add bluff, and I will add small arms. Maybe he's armed with a protective pistol.
Right. There's not really energy weapons in the usual sense of blasters or lasers or anything like that in Roan.
Nope. I mean, they essentially have caseless ammunition that uses magic, essentially like a telekinesis that makes a force and just blows it out the tube.
Yep.
So more of almost like a gyrojet type of thing.
In a way, very much.
Yeah, little tiny micro torpedoes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Could be bad, could leave a mark. I'm gonna play that one there.
Yeah, we have a couple people saying maybe just take the volume down on the music just a tiny skosh.
Hey,
Roger
Steel
that.
Prism. By the way, if
Hey.
I definitely remember Steel Prism is another one of our folks who has a character in the game, I believe.
Mm-hmm. We are doing Roan tonight. We're getting people kind of stoked up about the game, and if folks are going to be attending BabsCon, we're getting them kind of stoked up about the panel on Friday, starting at 4 o'clock at Event Hall number 3, the Hall of Magic. But since we're only going to have a relatively short amount of time, this gives us some time tonight to really talk to folks about this is the game, and this is what's exciting about it, and, you know, what's gone into creating this.
All right. Well, with this one, I think being a sailor, the last thing I'm going to give him is pilot, because he knows how to drive the boat. We will go ahead and start building our skill points with this character. So you know, I think he's going to be pretty decent. You know, he's learned enough. He's a pretty good gambler. He's an okay shot. Piloting the boat's fine. His athletics, he doesn't need anything huge because he's once again he's kind of already a good swimmer. Make him good at bluffing. And he's a really good brawler. You know, he knows that when a gambling deal goes sour, or if someone tries to cheat him, he doesn't like that.
Yep. He knows where the door is. He knows how to get someone out the door.
So,
Even if it's the back door where the trash chute is.
athletics. I'm gonna take strength. So, brawls going 3, 2. This is dex. Firearms is dexterity. Gambling is a 2, and piloting 2. So we have our total 4 dice. And he actually comes out pretty well balanced. He's generally got 5s. He's only got 1 4, which is coming out of his bluff skill. You know, because sometimes you want to really talk to the mares and just kind of convince them that you're a bigger sailor than they think.
Or also, too, if he's a gambler, bluffing is, boy, being able to convince somebody, do you really want to bet against me?
Mm-hmm.
You think you can pull this off? I've only got
to survive.
I've only got 2 2s here, but I'm gonna make you wish I had more. Oh, hey, Steel, glad you're gonna be able to see us at BabsCon. Also, too, we will be in the game room during the weekend, so drop on by and say hi.
All right, so we've got plenty of our skills, but we got that done. So the last thing we're coming down to is essentially what folks would know as feats. In Dungeons & Dragons, we have talents in rowing. Let's see, here we are. And of course, talents can be based on combat, it can be based on boosting your natural stats. And right now this character gets access to 1 talent. So, let's see here. What do we feel?
What are some of the talents that are available at his disposal?
Specializations do affect skills. Essentially, the idea is, say, if I had bluff and I'm specializing in lying, anytime I specifically choose to lie, I get 1 extra dice added to my total dice pool. And that's how specializations work. Actually, thank you for calling that one out. Let's see. Got a good light there. Sura. Yep, Sura R.
Yeah, actually, you could have a piece of pearl being, like that ocean washed glass. It could be, you know, a piece of a stone. It could be. I don't. It
Story wise, if the GM allows it, sometimes a player could go, you know what, I think I got a pearl. And, you know, pops a pearl. And GM could go, you know what, you do have a pearl.
Yeah. Or you could have a bottle cap.
How'd that one get there? I tell you.
I'm a refugee from Fallout.
Uh-huh.
I'm radioactive.
Yeah.
All right, so I saw Hooves of Steel, and you know what? We'll give this character Hooves of Steel, and it's been, you know, so meets the prerequisite for Brawl, which is 4 is necessary. Benefit is your pony's ball attacks can now do lethal damage. Character can choose that every 2 points of non-lethal damage inflicts 1 point of lethal damage. So essentially, these hooves can kill. So this is a dangerous sailor that we're coming up against.
We're talking a merchant marine, emphasis on marine.
Pretty much. Now,
Kung Fu Kelpie.
well, you know, the high seas can get pretty dangerous. You run into privateers from other nations and pirates. You never know what you might run into. Now, last but not least, you get 15 experience points, and this kind of helps you learning with how to do the mathematics for building your skills. So, right now, if you want to increase your primary attribute, you take that attribute, multiply by 5. For a skill, take the skill's new level, multiplied by 2. So, for example, Brawl is at 4. If I want it to be a 5, 5 times 2, 10 points. And then, of course, for a specialization, I can go ahead and add one at 3 points, or I can add another talent or a resource at 15 points. And of course, a Kelpie could probably get barnacles if they live by the seas. You'd probably get a character called Barnacle Bill.
It's like a social disease.
Yeah, if you had, you know, say a Kelpie who had really poor personal hygiene, yeah, it could happen.
Or spent all his time crashing on somebody else's couch.
Yeah.
And grows barnacles, literally.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
Yeah, I got a bad case of seeing enemies here. Oh, go away.
I can live my entire life without seeing that.
On the other hand, there's a type of little tiny fish called a wrasse, also called a blenny, that nibbles only bad things. So if you got like, you know, parasites or something, you'll nibble them all away.
Mm-hmm.
Great. What the heck is that? Those are me pet ninnies.
Yeah.
Those are me blennies. They keep me nice and shiny. Oh, gross. Yeah. Aye, but shiny gross.
Yes. I hear penicillin will clear that up.
Or as Silverglow calls them, sea enemies.
Yes.
Well, I think...
Those are me enemies.
Let's see here.
You got crabs.
Yes.
You know, just for the fun of it, I'm going to add one more talent from that special pool. I'm going to purchase a talent here with that 15 points. And this was kind of a joke piece, but I'm going to add the Exploding Tout Ensemble. What happens is, if this character were to have been struck by a death blow, instead it's going to be something like Ghouls and Ghosts. All his clothing and armor explodes off, leaving him a bit bare. And yes, kind of in this world, you get plenty of ponies that walk around in their birthday suits, but more often than not, clothing's kind of become quite the acceptable thing.
Hey, sure enough, glad you could drop by again. How's your stream going?
And for all you new folks who are here, Show Enough 44, he's got a stream going. He's another talented artist who helped out with the Rowan RPG. He's a good friend of mine too, out of Maryland.
Mm-hmm.
And he's got a comic book series that he's looking at putting out at some point based on character Squeak and Shred. So you know what? For another artist to look up, please definitely give him a look and give a shout out to him.
Also, too, like me, Shonuff doesn't have a day job besides art. This is what he does for a living. He gets up in the morning and he makes art happen. And that's how he pays his bills.
Oh yeah, so and hey, for everybody else, everybody can see Baron's there, but I kind of encourage that sometimes. Hey, show enough if you want, drop a Patreon link. Once again, and I see Octavia. Octavia is one I usually see out in Show Enough's link or streams. Correction there. All right, so we've got our basic character made. We've got ourselves a party-going sailor who, if wronged and if cheated out of his gambling winnings, will teach you quite a lesson that you will not want to forget.
Or if you call his ship something disrespectful.
Oh, you never do that.
Oh, should not be hauling garbage. Should be hauled away as garbage. He called the Enterprise a garbage scow.
Let's see, how's this character? Looking pretty good.
If you were to give him a vest someplace where he could hide his pistol.
Oh, we can't have that Dusk. Applejack's a main character.
Well, first of all, Applejack is not.
I don't care what people say.
Dusk, you just went down a few notches on me.
I mean, I love Octavia and Vital. I'm a huge fan of theirs, but a little love for AJ.
Yeah.
She'll get her own story.
Yeah, and that won't get hijacked.
Yeah.
Sadness.
Yes. We like Octavia.
All right, so next up, as everybody knows, when it comes to developing your characters, sure, once the supposed hard part of getting your stats spread around is finished, next comes, I like to call the harder part, getting your equipment. Now, something that folks will notice is that in Rowan, even though there's prices, there's not exactly a starting currency. And the reason behind that is that it's for the GMs and players to discuss what feels like a comfortable starting currency for their characters. And my reason behind this actually is that in D&D and a lot of games, they essentially go, are you a fighter? Roll 1d10 times something equals your total amount of gold. And to me, it never truly feels like what your character may have actually made overall, nor does it ever seem to take into account, well, what if your character already had these things? As opposed to being dictated by simple numbers where, great, your adventures start off with sword, shield, and that's about it. Maybe some rations.
Yeah, and also too, by giving this flexibility, it means saying, hey, I want play a character who's like 16 years old or 15 years old. I've run off to the circus. Or no, we've got, Shortleaf. Shortleaf could be, he may be, say, a senior sailor. He's been going to sea for over a decade now. He's in maybe his mid-20s. Or you could have a character that's going, play the character that's the bartender at the waterfront bar that Shortleaf goes to. This guy's been around for decades. He has seen everything. So what a guy who is 40 years old is going to have maybe stashed away as far as equipment versus some character that is 15 years old and maybe, kind of looted dad's wallet before he ran off to the circus to get some extra, currency. It locks you in too tight. And one thing about Roan is telling a story and having fun.
Let the character tell the story. So, I kind of imagine that this guy's probably wearing temperate wear. He's wearing something that's flexible, it's comfortable.
Maybe very good quality, because once again, he wants to impress a mayor.
Oh, yeah.
When he comes ashore.
Unless he wants to show off them scars.
That's why I gave him a vest. That's why I gave him a nice, medium-length shirt. That's why I gave him a nice sash with some color to it,
Something a little showy. But you know what? Being on the sea could be a little... Oh, and by the way, for folks, that is Roni the Riveter, currently at work, riveting away.
Yep.
And she's got one of the manipulators known as hands equipped. And that's the medium variation to allow her to really handle something, especially when you think about a jackhammer. That's a lot of shaking, and that would shake some nuts and bolts apart.
Yes. darn good reason. That is an excellent way to, once again, this is not filling out your taxes. You're supposed to be having fun doing this. If you're not having fun playing the game, don't play it. Go do something else. Go find something fun. There's nothing in your life you have to do that aren't fun and entertaining. This is your time when you're playing a game, so make sure you're enjoying yourself.
Well, and I'll be honest, taking that, I do see it happen a lot in games where sometimes certain players you run into might be the mathematician of the group, where it's all about crunching numbers. And in some ways I like saying is that you get a Warhammer 40k type military mentality where it's not about the role play, it's about getting to the fight and throwing big numbers of dice and destroying the enemy. Depending on the game, that's fine, but if you've never run a game before, and this is kind of one of the big things we kind of want to share with you all, little tips and tricks, because a lot of us have, I like to think myself a pretty decent veteran as a RPG player. I love getting into the role of the characters, even as a GM. We've got Baron, we've got Cadwin, who I would definitely say have decades. Obviously decades more knowledge than I do, especially that they got to even start with D&D when it started.
Yeah. By the way, yes, Wapsie waits. Yes, the augmented hooves are something in their own world. They are equipment that you can have, especially if it's appropriate for your character. I mean, there might be some circumstances where even shore leave might use things like that. It's like we gotta go up in the rigging or something like that.
Or there are times where I don't want to put my hooves there. If the mechanical grapplers get destroyed, that's fine. Once again, for those who weren't here to hear it, in this world they're called hands, which is essentially an abbreviation for hydraulically articulated pneumatic devices. And yes, I'm very proud of how that name came out.
The best backronym ever.
So we'll say a light set of hands for if he needs it.
Okay. Actually, yes, you can have replacement limbs.
You had quite a commission for somebody that had a replacement limb.
Well, there was.
I think we had that somewhere. Is that up on your DeviantArt page?
Yeah, it's on my DeviantArt page.
I will pull it down.
That would be Silver Star.
I will put it down.
And he was a Pegasus pony who had a very bad accident, lost 2 legs, and has to wear actually a supplemental brace system for his wings to fly.
Mm-hmm.
And he can only glide, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
Actually, just for the fun of it, I'm going to show Slinks. It is a replacement. It's just not, the kind of replacement I would go with. But first, there it is. Beautiful piece of art. And by the way, if he is here, thank you again for giving us the, allowing us to use this image as a poster, which we did push at BabsCon and a little bit at BronyCon.
It's kind of a promotion thing. And we have Slinks actually already. Yeah, we have Slinks picked out in the actual art. There we have a good proper image.
Has a slinky for a leg.
And that's more of a comedic version of it.
Yeah, Slinks is the high end of conspiracy theories. Believes that space frogs are going to come down and take over the world.
I know just the pony. To me, yeah,
it was space frogs. Space frogs.
And there's your heavily prosthetic pony there.
Yeah,
you can see the leading edge of the wings, for the brace, because that's where the bird wing, the bones are in bird wings, is more or less at the leading edge.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The bulk of an actual bird's wing is this kind of collapsible, movable collection of feathers.
Yeah, I said something very bad happened to him one day. Yeah,
you can be repaired, and the benefit of when it comes to Arcano technology or ether technology, both of them can be intermixed. It's magical technology. Is that yes, it has the ability of reaching out to those who have lost limbs. The only thing is that there is essentially the equivalent of EMP when it comes to magic, where random things could happen, or a mage could dispel, if strong enough, cancel out all your mechanics. And suddenly you find yourself tripping over what used to be your legs.
Mm-hmm. You're going to say, now there's this thing that's like keeping you from moving at all.
Yes.
Or flopping around on the ground like a
Mm-hmm.
Like a fish.
Like a thing that flops.
Like a thing that flops.
So, you know what? This guy keeps himself pretty light. And, you know, Merchant Marine, we're going to say, might deal with a lot of possibly explosions coming at them and stuff like that. This guy was issued, when he's actually having to deal with combat, a flak jacket.
But this is not something he'd be wearing on shore leave.
Oh, of course not.
And it might be something he keeps locked in his like steamer chest, or it's kept like in the locker armory on the ship.
Mm-hmm. You know, of course, its benefit is when he has it on the ship, he gets a bonus. He gets +1 to his DR. So any damage, you automatically take away 1 success worth of damage. Of course, it has a bit of a speed penalty. Brings him down by 1, but of course moving 5 spaces for him is pretty good. And against ballistics, gets a +3 to his DR versus ballistics. Now what that means is, you know, technically you could say shrapnel from explosions, but essentially, you know, shrapnel from explosions, firearms, anything like that. This flak jacket is there to keep you alive. But only against that, because once again, people seem to think in their heads that Kevlar or anything like this can take a knife, which it cannot. And in real life, there have been a lot of unfortunate fools who said, "Stab me, I got Kevlar on," and found out that
They got
Kevlar
stabbed.
does not. Yeah, it does not work that way.
And then they end up in Mad Dog's ER ward. And Mad Dog's going, "Why'd you have to go and do that?"
Which is why the best modern police vests include a layer, say that is cut and pierce resistant, so it wouldn't be able to do anything about bullets. You stack it up.
Enjoy your dinner, Engineer Sam.
See you later, Sam.
Take it easy, Sam.
All right, we're coming up on here in just a few minutes to 8:30, and at that point we'll take another 5-minute break, and then we'll be back.
Well, just to get this moving along, I'd say he's got a standard, you know, a 9mm pistol. And now how this works is, though it's got 1 point of lethal damage, it actually has 1 point of armor penetration. So technically, that ballistics DR of 3 +1, so you know that total ballistics going 4 there comes down to actually a total of 3. If this character had a DR of just 1, that AP would completely negate it. This character's armor would pretty much be tissue paper. And that's kind of the benefit of armor penetration and, of course, having damage reduction. So a character with just basic leather armor, a gun is going to waste them.
That is correct, but Dusk, it hurts like hell, but you're alive to complain about it.
Okay, you know what? I see 45. We'll give him a 45. What a 45 does is it trades armor penetration, but increases the lethality. So say a 45 pistol is a 3 lethal, no armor penetration. So essentially, the easiest way to think about it is armor penetration could be seen as a bonus +1. But of course, if you're shooting someone who has no armor to begin with, you're only going to get that 1 lethal. The benefit of a 45 is you have the possibility of having that 3 extra lethal slam into that opponent.
But if they're wearing armor, you're maybe not getting any
Right.
through.
Yeah, bulletproof vests, etc., are more effective against 45 than they would be against, you know, particularly like 45 hollow point or something like that versus say 9mm ball. If you're going to get into all kinds of tweaky.
Oh yeah. But the nice thing about with this game system is you kind of hand wave a lot of the major things.
Yeah.
Yep. And I know exactly what kind of discomfort you must be in. At least I had a kind of like that injury last year when I busted up my shoulder blade, my clavicle, pretty good. And boy, for a few days, opiates were my friend, and I had the most amazing bruise. It kind of looked like, you know, Peter Parker's Venom. Was like my suit was starting to grow on me, except it just never got any further.
Did you make sure to watch some Bob Ross?
Yeah, I watched Bob Ross. I also watched a lot of One Punch Man, and I watched lots and lots of Parker fail videos.
Because they were personal now.
Yeah, and it made me feel better because someone else was feeling more miserable than I was.
All right. So actually, an example of when it comes to you working as a GM, working with players, taking this build. I didn't really include anything like brass knuckles because we're already talking about with ponies who might have steel hooves or anything. But if a player kind of goes, well, what if it was just ponies with basic hooves and I got custom-made steel hooves and I got a sailor, and when he's on shore leave, he likes slipping on these steel shod kind of boots because when he wants to clock someone, he really wants to clock them.
Munchkin.
Or the picture of Maine Coon.
Yeah, got those little extended buckers on them.
And that's not just simply for damage. Those also have hooks so that you can catch, and parry, and grab and entangle weapons.
Mm-hmm. So let's say the GM goes, you know what? I'll give it to you. I'm not going to make it ridiculously powerful, but I'm going to allow you to have, so we'll just call them hoof knuckles, I guess.
Hoof knuckles like a hand. So I'm going to put some hoof knuckles on this guy.
It's kind of funny where, it actually ends with just a set of knuckles on the front, and everybody's like, what? But anyhow, hoof knuckles, the GM goes, I will give you a 2 non-lethal. So guess what? With hooves of steel, that can also turn into a 1 lethal if you choose to. And, as Cadwin had said, as a GM, do look out for munchkins. Once again, munchkins are those gamers who love to power game. And the other thing, too, is that sometimes even we as players might start doing munchkin things and not notice it. Because sometimes you never realize that you've accidentally added God mode until you're like, wait a second. Oh, I'm sorry. I accidentally realized that I went one step too high.
Well, that's actually something that's that Unity system in Roan de-emphasizes the eternal equipment chase.
Yes.
The base capabilities of your character are always more important than your equipment. Sometimes you need the equipment, but if your character had all your equipment taken away, say again, washed overboard up onto a desert island and had just their skills and and what their mama gave them, they wouldn't be completely lost.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the endless search for equipment also reduces a lot of complexity. Returns the emphasis to the storytelling, to the player, to the character,
The role playing.
Right, all the things that we're here for. It's something that specifically Dungeons and Dragons 3.5 and Pathfinder, which is based on D&D 3.5, really kind of, at least from my taste, went overboard on the equipment emphasis. Of course, there are other game systems where equipment doesn't help you at all. It's like, okay, that's fine, but it doesn't give you anything to strive for. I think Rome's got a pretty good balance. You are not your equipment.
Yeah, we're not getting concerned about dungeon grinding to try and find the perfect drop or something like that. The video game equivalent.
Yeah, and I've never liked it where it felt like the tools were the characters. Once again, D&D, it was always weird to just go, I need to have this magic sword of +4. Well, what's it do? It just gives me +4 to my damage.
Sort of awesome, sort of win.
And there's a certain point where it's just you're crawling along, just as you said, you're equipment hunting because if I have this +6 more, then I can really cream the white dragon that I'm coming up against or anything like that.
And we call that role playing, ROLL.
Yes.
It is
8:32.
It is 8:32. It is about time. Wait, there we go.
Yep.
To take another 5-minute break. Be all biological and stuff.
That's right.
And so we will see all you folks in about 5 minutes or so.
And seeing how we didn't make a magical character, this character is actually practically, I would say, pretty much done in this case because we kept a pretty simple sailor.
Yeah, maybe maybe next hour do a unicorn, just to show a little bit about how spells work.
Yep. It's MH47E.
Yep, just like the Chinook, the mission helicopter.
All no spaces, no gaps, nothing, just MH47E.
All right.
We'll see you guys in 5. And we're back.
Hello, everyone.
All right, we're here, of course, in for the last hour now. And, we created a non-magical type character.
Yep. So I've gone ahead and I actually worked up the traditional unicorn. Now, even though any character can work with magic, we're going to go with a unicorn here.
Yeah.
And I was making a mage, so essentially a medical mage.
Okay. Mare Stallion. We did
We'll go the mare.
Yeah, we did
We'll go
a
the
stallion
mare.
last time. Let's be equal opportunity here. We're gonna.
Birdie hoof got to change.
Yep, exactly. So let me change my
Nice.
paper out, and while you're working on this, a metamage. So a doctor.
We'll go the doc.
A doctor.
We'll
Okay.
go with a sexy nurse.
Doctor.
So it's like, wait a second, we're making a mage. When did it turn into Tina?
Trust me, she has a closet full of nurse outfits.
Will we ever see a world map from for the game?
Actually, the nice thing is currently after BabsCon is done, I will be headed over to see my folks, and this will be about a week, and I will be working on the map. The other side of not only working with the map is that originally I had an artist called Maximum on DA, I believe. Tremendous artwork when it comes to doing cartography. I believe he actually did some cartography work for the RPG game of the Game of Thrones RPG book. He's done a number of those. Well, unfortunately, a lot of that work trumped any he could do for me. So I was going to be reaching back out to the Cartographers Guild to see if I can get a pretty good cartographer artist to help me out with developing a good map.
Yeah.
You've got some amazing people on Cartographers Guild.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I tried, I was taking the time to learn using, Photoshop to make the magic, but the problem is that with a daytime job, with writing Roan World at War, and with planning everything else, your brain starts feeling like a fried egg. So, and it's something I will say as a game developer, don't overcook your mind. It is probably one of the worst things you can do because you start running into a writer's block, or your muse kind of just walks off without you going, I need a break.
Or you just start making mistakes that you don't even realize you're making until someone goes,
Until it's in print. Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Now the as for mapping software and stuff, for a lot of fantasy games, everybody points to Campaign Cartographer.
Mm-hmm.
Let me tell you about Campaign Cartographer.
It does its job for those simple campaigns, but I wouldn't print it in a book.
Well, Campaign Cartographer actually can do some very amazing stuff, but
yeah, here's that but.
the core of the software itself is FastCAD, which got its start in the 80s and really kind of stopped getting developed in the 90s.
Oh, wow.
It is incredibly clunky. It is very hard to use. I mean, it's a user interface disaster. Again, it looks like you're back, on Windows 95 or even Windows 3.1. It's that clunky. You can get some good results with it, but again, it's going to take a pound of flesh for you to do it, and you're going to feel like you're back in the days of DOS.
The other thing
Because
too,
it runs under DOS.
Yeah, because one of the things also to keep in mind too is that, for the Roan game, because we're looking for that kind of, diesel punk, interwar period feel and everything, it's nice if you can get something that has that look. And if you, just like illustration and graphic design and a lot fashion and everything, maps have a certain look at that period. A map from the 1930s will quite often look very different than a map from, say, the 18th century, which looks very different than a map from say, the 15th century, or a map today. So going through somebody who really understands, okay, you're trying to do this, and just as I get hired, like guys like him, to go in and do design, that's the same thing. In fact, one of the things I'll be doing with Roan for A World at War is designing a basic kind of design look for the different nationalities. Just as you, like in World War II, lined up a German tank, a Soviet tank, American tank, a British tank, and a Japanese tank, you can kind of go, okay, there's certain design looks and philosophies, and you can kind of say, no, painting an American, star on Japanese, Type 96, it's not going to look appropriate. Same way putting black and curls on a Sherman. That's just what they captured equipment being impressed in the service.
A Panther or a Tiger tank have a very, very defined silhouette. And that's probably the biggest thing. Even with airplanes, the largest thing they always taught folks was here's silhouette identification.
And so that's one of the things I'm going to be
all the playing cards and things that they made.
Oh, yes.
And so that's going to be one of the things I'm going to be working on is developing a certain look and feel.
By the
Same
way,
is true about maps.
By the way, if it gets to that point, because we're hoping to do another Kickstarter when it comes to Rowan World at War, I would definitely love to do a silhouette playing card series in a sense. But that's folks, hold that as a dream.
Yeah,
it could happen.
Yep.
But the biggest thing I'm going to bring down for a lot of you folks is with Kickstarter, and more importantly, when it comes to monetary support for your project. Rowan surpassed its goal with the Kickstarter, and every cent and then some went into making the book what it is today. And so it's something to look out for is one, you're going to be putting a lot of effort and a lot of money to make this happen, and nothing is ever free, especially if you want beautiful quality. You're going to have to, one, have great attitude, good production, and definitely be able to put the money out for it, because something that I've seen happen, and this is at Gen Con, I've seen a number of people with big dreams who turn around and think, oh, I can go to an artist and just go, oh, won't you do it because it's a great idea, make the art for my stuff. Kind of similar to hearing a kid go, oh, I got a great idea for a video game, and this is why Blizzard should hire me. That mouth, talking at the mouth will never get that for you.
Hey, okay, Anna, how do you pronounce that? I'm horrible with names.
Annie Muamino?
Hi. Basically, my name is BaronEngel. The guy trying to pronounce your name, that is Robert Morris, Clear Skies. Tonight we're doing a special Roan RPG stream. I usually do streams on Saturdays, but we have the BabsCon convention coming up this weekend, and we're talking to folks about the Roan role-playing game. And while Robert is creating a character, I am actually drawing the character out. She's a unicorn doctor.
Yeah, and Robert is the primary author, organizer, and guy that wears the top hat in the middle of the three-ring circus. That is game creation.
And herds cats.
Exactly.
But remember, though the ringmaster may make the calls, he has to have the consent of the clowns.
Exactly.
And this is kind of how it feels. You do feel like you're in a madhouse trying to make it all work together, especially when you're kind of, on a sense, you are going at this by yourself, even though you have the support of a lot of great artists. And something that, I want to kind of open up towards folks is when it came to me learning about this, and this is something I learned a long time ago, in production, you have what's generally known as the golden triangle. On this on these 3 points, you have quality, you have production, which is essentially production time, how fast they can be, efficiency, and then last but not least, you have attitude. And how they say is that more often than not, you will get 2 of the 3 points. It is rare, but you will find it. Like for me, I will, it's a little bit of the ego stroke for Baron here, but Baron I've always considered to have the golden triangle, the Triforce as a whole, essentially. He's got great attitude, his production is he's got beautiful production in his timing. He's always keeping in touch with me, what's working, what's going on, what's happening. It goes great with his attitude and, of course, quality. And something I've always wanted to throw down as kind of an example when it comes to this as well, of why, like, some people might have work. Like, for example, a lot of people like to make fun of him when it comes to the comic industry, Rob Liefeld. Well, thing that people don't realize is Rob Liefeld, yes, he might have, he finds it impossible almost to draw feet, and he has crazy anatomy with characters and 10 billion teeth in a mouth. He is, if, you meet him in person at a con, he is actually the nicest guy you can meet. So he has great, attitude. And he is always on time, if not faster. So when people say, we need you to do this comic and get it done, he gets it done. So sure, he might not have, the 100% quality, but with everything else, it's enough that he gets the job done. It's an attitude people love to work with. And, you're not going to get, the golden star of art, but you're at least going to get art that you can read it, you can still enjoy it.
And it's on deadline.
Oh, and think about it. Like, Deadpool was a Rob Liefeld creation, and it exploded enough that when other people took what he made, it exploded into the big kerfluffle of Deadpool that we have today.
And one of the things that was very interesting a few years ago, actually 2015, when Karen and I were down for EQLA, and Daniel Ingram was one of the guests there, and they had this panel, which he was on, and he was talking to folks, and he quite on a couple occasions, because it was kind of broad, like, how do you find your focus to create your character, create this music and do this? And he said a lot of it is a deadline, and there was many occasions during that panel where he kind of popped some folks' bubbles and kind of made them kind of a little bit sad. He said, look, the important thing was I had to get this out. It was better to get something done that they could use on time that was 90% than to spend that extra day and a half working out to make it 100%, and then it's late and all of production's behind schedule. When I was...
Don't be that guy.
Don't be that guy. When last year, in fact, it was a really an amazing bit of, oh my God. I didn't want to be the weak link, but a little story. One day I had gotten through talking to Clear Skies about, okay, we're working on this. Tomorrow I'm going to start working on this part of the project and everything. I got this lined up, and we'd gotten the thumbnails all clarified, and he was happy with how it was going to look. And I decided to take a break and do a little bit of cleaning in the kitchen, because I had kind of let the refrigerator go for a while, and the refrigerator now had potentially, the potato salad was trying to declare independence. So I was in there cleaning the fridge, and I went to stand up, and was pulling some Tupperware containers out of the fridge, and I caught my left elbow on the edge of the inside door of the fridge, and it caused me to lose my balance, and I slipped and I fell back, and I hit my right shoulder on one of the knobs on one of the cabinets. And there was this, I felt it more than I heard the sound. It was this, and I was like, oh God.
Sounds like a gunshot.
Oh God. And Cat's Paw actually was in kind of watching me. He saw me fall, and he was going, and I started making all kinds of noises, and he was going, at first it doesn't seem like it was that big of a deal, and I didn't think it was either, but I got up, and I couldn't move my arm, and it was getting worse and worse, and I tried lifting my arm, and there was this, oh God. And so eventually I said, I gotta go to the emergency room. So I got dumped into Cat's Paw's car, which was a Miata. It was great. It was a rainy day. It's a Miata, tops down. I'm trying to get inside this very, very compact vehicle. We get down to the emergency room, and they go, yeah, your clavicle's broken. And I'm going, oh God, I have to basically contact Clear Skies here, because I still had 3 large color pieces I had to get done. And we had a deadline. We got to get this thing done. And so
The Murphy's Law, the worst case scenario happened.
And I had 3 big, I had patina, I had that Silver Star piece, and I had Maine Coon. I had to get those done. I'd gotten the cover already finished, but I had to get this. I'd done a bunch of the black and white interior stuff, but I hadn't gotten around to doing this this piece. And so I was going, and I came home and I thought, God, I'm going to completely ruin the project, because I'm going to be the weak link. I'm the guy who's not going to be able to get his work done. And over the next week and a half, I had to start thinking in terms of, okay, how do I change my workflow, my schedule? How do I go about creating art? Because as fast as possible, I have to get back into making stuff. And this resulted in, when I finally was, after about 4.5 weeks, I could start holding a pencil. I could work for 30 minutes, and then I'd take 15 minutes off. And then I could work for 30 minutes, and I'd take 15 minutes off. And I could do that for about 4 hours, and that was done. And so, but I had to work with him to get the work done. That's enough of me talking about my horrible injury.
Yep.
Oh,
So,
there.
tell me about your unicorn.
All right,
Yes.
so we have ourselves a medical mage, motivated by compassion. Don't have a name yet, so I'll be looking out to see a couple if there's any good names.
Give him a name.
I, made this character more mentally powerful than physically, and skill-wise, the most important skill is I gave them magic, with the specialization in healing. So if this character ever chooses to do healing, they get a +1 to their dice pool. Talent-wise, I gave them the ability called Spark of Light, which allows them to act. That is Rachel. I gave them spellcasting Aqua, so essentially using water, which is considered a form. Water is kind of part of life, and can be used for healing. So
We got. Let's see. We got Arden
Her
Hart.
name is Lavage de Bride.
wow,
That's
quite a
pretty
name.
grim, actually.
Yeah.
That would be pretty grim.
Oh, this is just a little minor brace, because so one thing is I'm left-handed, and something I like to do is, I try to keep myself at least physically active, and I do a lot of rock climbing, but I also try to keep myself active with weightlifting and stuff, because with the work I actually do, I do a lot of web development and mostly SharePoint administrative work, and the problem is that you're sitting on your keister for 8 hours, and then you go home, and the next thing, my brain goes through is, oh, now time to boot up the computer and type Rowan. Well, it's like, it's kind of good to throw in a little bit of physical health, because what you do now will, at least make things better for you when you're much older. And so one of the things is, since I use my left arm a lot, sometimes it gets a little bit more sore since I work this one with slightly heavier weights. So once in a while I'll put a wrist brace on, which will just kind of help with it.
And yes, just like that TV show with pastel colored talking ponies, unicorns can't levitate things.
They have the ability called the Invisible Hand, which blesses them with an extended range telekinesis. All right, so let's see. What names were we? Solus, Poultice.
T-Seal. Or T-Seal.
No, Solus sounds good.
TLC.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Pardon?
Solus sounds good.
Solus. All right.
Yeah, because that way people can make fun of her and call her soulless, and then she gets all mad, and then she shows them what a naughty nurse can do to patients that misbehave and call her bad names.
Is she a nurse or a doctor?
Doctor.
Doctor.
Solus. Why do you call her that? Because she never warms her hooves when she asks me to turn my head and cough. Woo!
Because she uses her hooves when she told me to turn my head and cough.
All right, so now.
Made me question my whole existence and other things too.
So now we're going to work with creating a spell. And this, and
Dr.
here's the
Feel
thing.
Good.
So,
Dr. Kill
oh
Patient.
dear. So here's the thing about Rowan. Unlike D&D and many games out there that have pretty much, you have Fireball, you have Heal.
Spell
or,
lists.
a predefined spell list. Rowan gives you a simple set of tables, and you build your spell based on the table.
Kind of like Champions did with its system.
Well, Champions or the hero system, unfortunately, it's like reading tax documents to build a character.
You need Excel to do it right.
Oh, I played a hero game ran by a friend of mine named Michael Surbrook, based on a campaign by a friend of ours named Ross Watson, who was one of the big heads behind the creation of Rogue Trader, which is part of the Dark Heresy Warhammer 40k with Fantasy Flights. And I can certainly say this, though it's fun playing with good friends, it is a system that I did not like, but I can at least say it's not like making a vehicle in GURPS, where you actually need to know trigonometry and physics. So,
It's educational.
okay, so we're going to go with healing, and this character is going to use water as their central source of healing magic. So first off, magic in general begins with a base difficulty. Where earth, air, and water are considered easier to bend to one's will, starts with a base difficulty of 1. So we'll go ahead and element, put in that base difficulty of 1. Element is aqua. As opposed to light, dark, and fire, because fire's a little more chaotic in the way it dances around. Light and dark are
It's more
very
energetic too.
Oh yeah, very energetic. Light and dark are very powerful sources. They have a base difficulty of 2.
And besides that, ponies are mostly made out of water anyways. So it helps for healing.
Yeah, her last name is homeopathy. That's it. The water remembers.
Oh geez. Now, range is based upon the character's total spell power. So essentially, this character can reach out a good distance. Let's see here. So we got. So magic skill rating. So for every 1 point, going into magic, it's 5 feet. So if they're doing healing, they can reach out 50 feet. So that's a pretty wide range of a wide radius that this character can cast healing.
That's a field medic right there.
Yeah.
Literally. Now,
That also means that they can dispense tongue depressors and lollipops at great distance.
well, now next up is the area of effect, and you actually have a couple of different types of AOE's overall. You have a burst, you have an arc, you've got a stream, so you could essentially make what looks like a flamethrower of water that heals everybody in that stream, or you can specifically target a pony or a certain number of ponies. Well, you know what? I talked with the GM, and I kind of want to keep this active because I never know. I might want to target a pony, or I might want to target, multiple ponies. So at least for this example, I think I'm going to go targeted, and I will say 2 ponies. So that is difficulty 2. Go ahead and drop that in. 2. And targets 2 ponies. So right now my total difficulty is a 3. Now it's duration. For this, the duration could be an extended amount of time, or it could last instantly. Now in combat is considered 6 seconds a round. So you could do a duration of 30 seconds. That means for 5 rounds, someone in a specific, someone who has this cast on them could have healing done at whatever the amount is. So you know what? This person's pretty good. We're going to say that 30 seconds. So 30 seconds of healing. So it's like a regen spell. And
the Team Fortress's 2 medic would be jealous of that kind of skills, class guys. Archimedes, get out of there. It is dirty.
now this is where it gets expensive. This is where we now add the special effect for the healing. So,
Sparkles!
so essentially, we're looking at doing a form of lethal damage, but of course, in this case, it's going to heal. So for this, with this character, I'm going to say 3 lethal, which is a +4 difficulty. So technically, this is not 3 lethal, this is 3 health points.
Yep, same axis, different direction.
Mm-hmm. On the other side, it could also do 5 non-lethal, or essentially help someone from not being conked out. So total difficulty here is an 8. So I mean that's a pretty high difficulty, and this is a character that with healing has a total roll of 10. So unfortunately, if they are casting this spell because of that high difficulty, they can't take the average, and averages are used to make sure the game goes faster. So like if you know that they're going to roll 10, but the GM goes, okay, if you take the average, you'll win. You can just go, all right, well, I take the average. Or there might be a time where the GM goes, hey, you've got a difficulty 3. And you're like, well, my total skill's a 10. My average is 5. You just go, well, I take my average of 5. And the GM goes, all right, you pass the skill check.
Like in D&D, taking 10. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's becoming a very popular mechanic in new games, just to hurry things along and take out some crunch.
Exactly.
Now, here's the thing. As much as averages are there, there might be times where as a GM you go, no, I want to see you roll, just in case you do fail.
You're tired.
In general, if you're under stress, or if some very serious consequences could arise if you do fail, then you roll.
Yeah, exactly. So you've been up for the last 16 hours. Roll.
Yeah, a generic avatar would like to know if this particular medical mage can use that same spell to harm. Are spells like this reversible? I mean, it would seem not, because then a harm spell could automatically become a heal spell.
Yeah.
Yeah, to an extent. And again, this is where actually specialization comes in. So this character is specialized in healing. They can mostly just work healing style spells. And for magic, that's kind of the importance of the GM can either allow them to just have free range and modify spells as they go, or they can go, no, your specialization defines what you do. So at that point, if they want to do actual attacks, they have to define, well, I do attacks such as if I'm a fire pony, I can do flamethrowers and so on and so forth. And people might go, wait, healing with fire? I go, hey, cauterizing a wound, as they would say, burning away a fever and so on and
Cleanse
so
it
forth.
with fire.
Yeah. I mean, this is from my Equestria Dreamscape, but I have one character, not going to have a huge part, but they're going to have a little spot in the Royal Wedding. They're a doctor. They're a cardiologist. They are very good at being able to do things like, okay, we need, this person's having some kind of cardiac arrest. We need to do equivalent CPR. They can actually reach in and go, and keep the person's heart going.
Mm-hmm.
During the fight with the changelings, there is a couple occasions where this individual, to protect other ponies, reaches in and grabs changelings' hearts and goes, and squits them like...
What about the Hippocratic Oath? Well, it didn't say anything about bugs.
About squishes them like tomatoes. But it's very hard. It's very, very stressful, and it's something that afterwards they're going to be spending some time, talking to their fellow specialists. I did this. I had to out of necessity, but I feel horrible for having done it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, in Cat's Paw's original game, Ponytails, we were the alpha test group, and I've got about 30 years of software quality experience here in the Valley. So I said, I'm going to apply my mind to this, and I'm going to break your system. And he said, yeah, break my system. Tell me how. Astra Rose.
Oh, yes.
Yes, Astra is kind of a silly unicorn. She's very small. She is an incredibly powerful telekinetic. And there was a mini adventure where we were attacked by sky pirates. We were on an airship, and another airship came along and started lobbing cannon shells at us. And Astra started plucking out cannonballs out of the air. It's like she was actually good enough to do it. And they were mortars. The classic mortars, where basically it was a cannonball with a fuse on it. And you would light the fuse and then fire the cannon and hope you didn't get a misfire. So it's like, okay, roll to see if you can snatch it from the sky. Oh my God, that's a lot of sixes. It was a game system where you rolled 1d6 for each point of skill you had. I rolled a lot of sixes because I had a lot of dice.
Ooh, so you shatter on that sucker.
Oh yeah, I critted it, and I say, okay, well, what are you going to do with it? Well, I'll just give it back to him. I'll just throw it back the way it came. Oh, I'll roll some dice. Well,
You rolled a lot of sixes again.
I mean, Astra is powerful with the telekinesis. She was even more powerful with her accuracy, because her one unicorn spell was basically Spock's tricorder. It was just an information gathering spell. That's not very powerful, is it? No, that's the most powerful thing you can do in a game is get information. So she used her tricorder brain to lock onto the cannon, and the rules said you can add the dice together. This is from OpenD6 was the system. Okay, that's 9 dice. Oh, that's a lot of 6s. So she,
Cat's Paw says, no, they were explosive shells from high-velocity breech-loading small-caliber naval guns.
Yeah,
yeah, okay, what was it?
Ooh.
Yeah, so even those do not stand up to Astra Rose's 9 dice.
Yeah.
And she basically stuffed it back in the barrel of the cannon that that fired it,
And then the shell detonated.
and then it went boom. And then says, "Okay, I'm going to see." So Catspaw then rolled to see, if there were any other, shells lying around, the gun, which there probably would be. Oh, yes, there are. They went off, blew the airship out of the sky, and Astra, she was a little bit Pinkie Pie like, just kind of a silly thing, and she just killed about 20 ponies. They were bad ponies, but she killed them. She killed them dead. And basically, I ended up retiring the character because I could not, in my mind, reconcile her personality with, even if it was in self-defense, with what she did.
Yep.
So I just did a bad thing.
What did you do? Tell me your bad thing. I like to hear bad things.
Oh, no, not that. I'm saying your character.
okay, yeah.
Your character
Okay.
practically just,
Okay.
I did a bad thing.
Yeah, so basically, the next couple of adventures, she was just kind of mentally unstable, and so okay, again, trying straight through the character. Look, I got to retire this character.
Yep.
She's broken.
Yep.
Yeah, and I imagine that again, like Baron was talking about, let's say that a doctor sworn to heal, having to kill sentient beings, might not react particularly well.
Because she was torn between basically not doing this and letting the one pony that she basically revered, Princess Celestia. It was part of trying to defend the princess from the onslaught, because the little battle goes on in the chapel quite a bit longer in my Dreamscape than it did in the TV series. Okay.
All right. Well, now just to give you all kind of an example of spellcasting. So let's say our friend here, Shoreleave, she knows Shoreleave. He comes by and he's constantly coming in bruised, battered, and banged. She sees that, oh no, he's in another, he's in a bar fight. Okay, well, bar fights happen, but he gets someone's a little unfair. They slam him pretty good from behind. He actually incurs some damage to his health. So she decides to actually try to heal him. Now, one thing is being a doctor. You know what? I say that she's being that she's professional, graduated, she's done this for a while. She's got something of a grimoire. So she's getting a bonus +2 to her skill, which brings it to 12. Now, the skill to heal is a difficulty 8. So she has 12 dice, which averages 6. So it's not enough to beat it. So essentially what you would have to do is take the dice, and this is the cool thing about Rowan. Maybe you don't have a whole bunch of D8s or even D6s. You got your standard mix. Well, what's nice is they have evens, they have odds, and that's what matters most. So you go ahead and grab them. So we got 2, 4, 5. See, we got one more here. Here we are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we'll have to just roll this handful twice. So we'll splat. There we go. So so we got. Oh, this is a derp roll. Oh no, Derby's law. Oh no. So we got one success so far. This is not boding well. There's another roll, and so one success, 2, 3. Oh no. So that failed. Now here's the benefit of magic. The spell did not go off that round, but it doesn't stop. Because there are certain spells which might require a lot of time to cast in order to get to succeed. If the character is being attacked, if they're moving and running around, the character might start incurring a lot of negatives, anywhere from a -1 to a -4, which could make continuing the spell casting near impossible. But as long as they're concentrating, she decides to concentrate. Round 2, she's going at it again. So she still has 3 successes.
So you can go all Yahtzee.
Pretty much, holds those 3. We're at 4, 5, 6. Oh, hey, look at that. She only needs 2 more. Does she get it? There's that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hey, she actually got 5. But here's the thing. Just because she blew past the target number, she's not going to get any major benefits from doing so. But the spell does go off. So now, our
It
friend
just took
here...
3 rounds to pull it off.
Yep, but the benefit is our friend, for the next 5 rounds, gets 3 HP back each round. So he's going to start incurring health, and he's practically going to probably beat everybody in that bar. And then he's probably going to cry when she turns around and goes, by the way, my bill.
Oh, that's the pain for which there is no save.
Yes.
Could be even worse. She could be cute, so he couldn't do anything against her.
Oh, my armor is 0 against your charisma. Hey, baby, do you save here often?
Oh, jeez. But, yeah, so, I mean, there was magic. There was a little bit of action going with it. Let's see, I've seen dice. Okay, McClaw, you are talking about fudge dice, and that is generally seen with the fate systems, such as Spirit of the Century, the Dresden Files, and how it works is pluses are 1, minuses is 0, and the minus takes away, and the empties are essentially a 0. So what happens is that when you go ahead and roll out the dice, if your character isn't getting enough of a success in that game, you also gain fate chips. And with these chips, you spend them to push yourself to the target success number.
Mulligan points.
In a way, except it's very central to that world. Well, like technically with Rowan, where when I had failed before, let's say I had only failed by 2 points and I really wanted to succeed, and I've got 2 chips, I can go to the GM and go, hey, I have 2 chips. Boom, she succeeds. Oh, interesting. So monkeys done LARP.
Mm-hmm.
See, LARPs have, depending upon the LARP that you do, the only quote LARPing I ever did was SCA, which really isn't LARPing. You know, it's mostly hitting people with sticks.
And lots of drinking.
Because the whole point of SCA is go out and hit people with sticks as hard as you can. If it hurts, it's a hit. You know, and it's not like hit points or anything. It's just you get clobbered, down you go. But I had a friend who was into one of the formal organized LARPs. They would take over this Boy Scout campground up in the Santa Cruz Mountains. And it was the classic, bean bags, and you throw them at people, and you say, Fireball 3, and that kind of stuff. But they have rule systems. They have, what amounts to health points and magic points and armor points, et cetera, which you have to keep track of in your head while you're, jumping around and dodging like you have fire in your pants and it's not that dissimilar. It's just how it's wrapped up.
I got a large but pretty good question coming from Sonny Starbright. So Sonny is considered new to Rowan, to D&D. So I would say RPG games in general, in the case of tabletop and book RPGs. So it seems like it does seem like seeing a vast ocean and trying to figure, well, where do I start? Mm-hmm. So in the case you've got Rowan, and what's nice actually is that I believe it's like the Brony channel, but there's a group of bronies out there on YouTube who actually have a Rowan RPG game that they started up and began playing. At some point, I'm actually going to be running a game and recording it with a couple of my friends out of Maryland. And once it's all recorded and set up, we're actually going to throw it onto YouTube to kind of give people an introduction towards Rowan and to help them understand the mechanics. Also, what else is coming in the works, and this is coming out as a lot of work, but it'll start posting soon, is that another artist, of course, who does by the name of Dorito Pony, who does the Lyra and Bon Bon comic series, is actually doing a little Rowan comic for me of, just for the fun of it. This is free to go out there. So, for once we are having 2 lovable characters of Lyra and Bon Bon get sucked into the world of Rowan, mostly for the fun of, there's a lot of fans out there of the so-called, pony series that we all love. And you're seeing this clash of it, but once again, there was a lot of inspiration coming from it. Now, in terms of asking about Rowan groups who do these games and gamings, the nice thing is if you go to rowanrpg.com, there's a button that will send you to the Rowan forums. In the forums, they're actually doing RPG play-by-post, or you can also chat with folks to do gaming through Skype. Skype or Discord or any number of chat tools that you might have. Even Steam can work if you've got it, and Roll20, I believe, is another large, growing mishmash of RPG games altogether and things.
You have any plans to get integrated with some of the more advanced online tabletop sites like Fantasy Grounds? That's ones where more than just like a virtual mapping utility. They actually you actually do the rules and stuff like that. Yeah. You actually implement the rules, in the back end, and it will do things like say, "Oh, I'm casting my heal spell. Well, I know how many dice to roll to check it," and and you end up charging for the game.
Yeah.
Well, I have seen the Fantasy Ground, played with it for just a little bit. Never really got to play with anyone game-wise, but I think it would probably require me actually working with someone who really knows it in depth to be able to build it up. Again, it would be a lot of fun to do so, though. To, once again, to have something that can reach out and cater, as a tool set to assist both players and GMs.
So I hope that helps, Sonny. Hope that answers some questions, because we want to encourage you. We want you to play the game. If you bought the rulebook, we want you to really have a great time with this, world we've created.
Yeah, that could be kind of sort of its own Kickstarter project, because you would need to hire at least one programmer and probably a couple of digital artists.
Mm-hmm.
But that's something you can contact Fantasy Grounds directly and just say, hey, how do I do this? Do you have any people? What do they charge? Can you put me in contact? And then you can find out what the scope of the Kickstarter might be.
Well, hopefully, going for you, also Cold, going to the Rowan forum will help you get hooked up with folks either in your area or online that you can play the game.
Absolutely.
It's it's a lot of friendly people in there and such.
And Duskwatch here says, "I'm a programmer."
Yeah, I don't know what the back-end language for Fantasy Grounds is. They may even have their own scripting language. I'm going to guess Lua, because that seems to be the scripting language of choice for people doing anything gaming related, including web apps behind places like Fantasy Grounds. But
I would also say, from the sounds of it, this chat by itself, there's a lot of people asking about, games and wanting to play.
And that's what part of the reason why we wanted to do this tonight was to get people hooked together. Because you can have the situation. You buy this book. I got this book in the mail. It's really cool. Or I bought the PDF version. This is really, really great.
What?
Did anyone else buy this game? Am I the only one who bought it? Hello?
Crickets?
Yeah. And so even this chat tonight, hopefully folks, in the chat, if you want to hook up, send notes to each other, whisper to each other, get things going. We're helping try to build a community out of this.
And, by the way, just kind of show a little bit of how my creative process works. So, what you're seeing here, a bunch of note cards. I've got about 3 more of these guys. And, for the Rowan RPG book itself, besides a lot of typing, I've had about 10 spiral-bound index cards, all numbered, all written up, explaining specifically what happens with specific aspects of the game. Like in this case, I've got a lot of the platoon builds, such as talking about fire teams.
Mm-hmm.
All the talents and stuff.
I just want to take a moment to answer a question. Could this be a game that would ruin friendships? At that point, any game can end up ruining friendships and everything.
Biggest thing,
it's not diplomacy.
It's a game.
Yeah.
Don't let the game ruin friendships.
Right.
And that's the thing that we had talked about earlier on, is that you have players who like running as what's known as a munchkin, or don't know that they're running a munchkin. The idea of a munchkin is this is someone who power plays. This is the guy who, when he jumps into Call of Duty, he's the guy who whips out the squad automatic and the high-powered sniper rifle and does 360 no-scopes.
Yeah.
They're not there to
Because-
play, they're there to, quote, win.
Yeah.
Which is not something that you do in a tabletop game. You're telling stories, you're not winning and losing.
There's actually a fellow who's done a series of videos that are very good for role-playing gaming, but he also has some actually excellent stuff that just talks about, ideas of world building and how you might go about creating a world. That's Matthew Colville.
Yep.
Actually, I watched a few of his, and he's a very friendly sort, too.
And one of the things
Very intense.
Yeah, he is very intense. One of the things he talks about is if you're a GM or if you're players or you're both, sit down and talk to him. Say, what kind of a game do you play? Because you might have the person that, I'm all about optimizing this and get.
I want to kick down the door.
Yeah, kick down the door. It's like, I'm all about exploring the world, or I'm all about seeing what is exactly can happen with my character. And if you understand what the GM wants and the players explain what they want, you're the GM. Go, okay, I was going to run this type of game, but if I do that, it doesn't like you guys are going to have fun. And Matthew does have kind of a basic rule, which is if my players have fun, I have fun. You're not trying to win. You're trying to basically get together and have a great time. So my recommendation on anything is sit down and talk about it. If you don't talk about it, and you get the wrong personalities at the table, playing Parcheesi can ruin friendships.
The way I've always liked explaining GMing and the role playing in general to new players. Think of it as collaborative writing. Everybody's an author. The GM is the head author. So essentially the GM's job is to provide background, details, people who might be in there, and then the players write down, here's a character and this is how they act. And it, in a way, it's that you're acting and using your imagination as that stage. The GM provides the props that he wants you to imagine or she wants you to imagine, and you develop this world working, essentially working together. Hence why, Archetype is there to let GM know what kind of character do you have specifically, motivation, what drives them, so he knows what to use for them or against them. And I will also say this. Not only are there players known as munchkins, there are GMs out there that are just strictly for the player killing. And that's kind of something where, now there are players that enjoy that aspect, that impossible
Adversarial.
challenge. This is the guy who joins the game of Doom and plays Inferno mode. Well, biggest thing, as Baron said, talk to your players. If you're not communicating, if you keep sitting back, and I see this happen a lot. Actually, this kind of happened with one of my gaming groups, is everybody would constantly go, oh, it was a great game, we had fun today. And then they will start, behind each other's backs going, oh, well, I didn't like the fact that, when I rolled a number here, his character blocked it with a roll there. Or I didn't like that, this puzzle was too hard for me. Well, tell it to the GM, and same thing, GMs, don't be afraid to tell your players. This might happen sometimes. Look, I know you're frustrated, but I saw you tip your dice. I let it go. I waited till after the game to talk to you afterwards, which, just to let you know, dice tipping is essentially thinking, no one's looking, I'll just put my finger on an edge and flick it. It's cheating. And you know what? There are players who get frustrated and just go, God, I keep rolling ones, or nothings. I'm getting zeros. I just want one, for God's sakes. I want to actually do something. And sometimes, as a GM, it's you to call out and just go, hey man, if this is proving tough, let me know. We can work something out to help your character get something of a minor boost or something. It is kind of a group effort.
Yeah. Going back to the question that popped up earlier, the Lyra and Bond thing isn't done yet, so it's nowhere to be found.
It's a huge work in progress, yes. And the biggest thing is essentially a lot of the finances. The larger brunt of the finance went towards the production of the book. And to a point, I even explained this to folks on my page as well as coming out of the Kickstarter. I sunk every cent into the development of the book. The book came out, I originally thought 150 pages. Book came out, yeah,
You're
book
funny.
book blew past that by 100 more pages. And the thing about it is that I put a huge amount from my own pockets into this game for the prints, for the shipping. The largest thing is that we had a lot of folks from outside the U.S. who wanted the book shipped to them, which is, it's not cheap. The other side of it, too, is for those of you who want to do a Kickstarter, this is my biggest piece of advice. If you do your Kickstarter in the fall, or at a most dangerous time, the winter, the moment you get that money, you would already be ready to spend it all, because it is considered monetary.
It's income.
It's
Yeah.
income.
Well, if
It will be taxed.
If you're doing an LLC, yes, yeah. That's it. So I've got a company that I've created for my own gaming efforts. There, it is a C corporation. And I'm a CEO. Am I evil yet? And its tax year starts in September. Because you can do that. You can change your tax year, but yeah, it's an incredible pain to do so, except at the time you create your company.
Yeah,
but with LLCs, it's your tax year.
Yeah, probably once again, the Lyra Bonbon thing with format, that's going to be all worked out probably as they get it all done and together. It's a project under development. We do not have the specifics. And I'll leave it at that.
Well, for the most part, the Lyra Bond Little Silly Comics, first it'll go out to all the backers, so they'll get to see it for about a month, but everybody else will get to enjoy. Yeah, we're still here, Ron. I guess he's streaming too, but the Lyra Bond will be something that will appear on the Rowan website, and mostly it's just kind of a fun thing that will be out there for folks to enjoy. Again, as I said, probably if we can find a link later on, Dorito Pony, a wonderful person. Of course, I kind of run into the trouble of he is out across the ocean, so trying to speak with him is a little bit of a tap dance.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay.
It's about that time.
It is.
Wow.
It is 9:30, folks. Yes, it is time for us to actually wrap this up here. We have food waiting for us, and nothing
Time
else.
flies when you're making pone.
Exactly. Why don't we switch back to main camera? You've already done that. Okay.
Oh, and just to let you know, Ron, he was drawing one of the characters because we wrote up two characters. We did essentially a merchant marine sailor Kelpie and a medical unicorn.
Yep. So, I want to thank all you folks for tuning in tonight. This is midweek, and for some of you folks, it's after midnight, and you guys are here. So, thank you for tuning in tonight. If you happen to be going to BabsCon this weekend, Friday in the Hall of Magic, Event Hall number 3, starting at 4 p.m., we are going to have the Rowan RPG panel. And during the course of the weekend, we are going to be at different times in the gaming room. I will, if nothing else, be making announcements on my Twitter. We're gaming now. Come on down and see us.
Come play Rowan.
Come play Rowan. We're going to be having it set up so people can come and play pickup games.
Got
And
some pre-mades. Off you go.
Yep, exactly. So I want to thank everyone who tuned in on a weeknight. And, yeah, Proud. It's only going to be, we ended at 9:30. We started a little bit later because, people had to get home from work and everything like that to get this thing set up and going. So we started at 6:30 instead of 5:30, but we're going just to 9:30 because we have to eat.
and I will at least say this. Hopefully, it's not a promise I'll make, but I would love to try to once in a while actually invite people through Skype and do something like a one-shot. Essentially, one-shots will take about 4 to 5 hours, six at the highest, but just, let people run through a game. I'll GM you folks through it, let you have a great time, and then, go from there and pick a new set of folks.
Yeah. And just, because I haven't done the plug yet, I'm going to just do my little plug tonight. Just like Show Enough here in the chat, this is what I do for a living. I don't have a day job. This is my day job. I spent the day, helping, Clear Skies get ready for this stream. And one of the big things that makes this possible is my Patreon. Without my Patreon, this couldn't happen. So if you're one of my patrons already, thank you, thank you,
What
thank you.
Shona says, what's a day job?
Yeah.
So support, yeah, you know what? Support your artists. And I will say this again, when it comes to if you ever do your own project like this,
You'll understand.
Yeah.
well, not only will you understand, but this is like a friend of ours wanted to do a cyberpunk, and I said, you know what? Reach out to someone like Massimune Shiro if you want like amazing anime cyberpunk art for your book. And he goes, but that'll be expensive. And I'm like, with that mindset, your book will never be finished. Of course, it's going to be expensive, but that is the bullet you have to bite in order to be able. Because you know what? You pay for what you get.
Yep. So I wanted. Oh, by the way, some people were wondering about brain lubricant earlier tonight. Yeah, talk, Munsey. Hey, Barry needs more brain lubricant. Well, I'm kind of being a little more careful here because I'm the guy driving tonight, and you know
He's
what?
the double D.
I'm the double D, and more importantly, my wife is going to be editing this video later, and so she's going to know if I got a little bit tipsy, and when I would
She
come to
knows when you've been drinking. She
And
knows when you're away.
I wouldn't get tonight when I came walking through the door, but a couple weeks later, I'd be working at my computer or working at my drawing table, and suddenly I get whacked on the back of the head. And it's like a time release, punishment. So
That was for that thing you did 3 years ago that I only just now saw on YouTube.
exactly. So I'm drinking. The last part I've been drinking Diet Cherry Dr Pepsi. Or Dr. Pepper. So I say I want to thank all my patrons. If you're not a patron, you should be able to see a link in my thing here for my Patreon. $1 a month makes a difference. If everybody on DeviantArt gave me $1, I'd be doing really, really good.
I wonder why I'm paying you then if it's everybody in DeviantArt.
Yeah, but I don't have everybody in DeviantArt, and I'm glad you finally figured out that you can get artwork from you, knucklehead. But
If I had a nickel for every time I heard, I'd have a whole bunch of nickels.
yes,
And on the other side, reaching out support again. Show enough, if you're still listening, throw up a Patreon. Let folks know you exist.
yeah,
As we said, he's another one who's been, who's practically been working. He had his anniversary not too long ago, too, of working by himself.
mm-hmm. Yeah, sure enough. Before this chat shuts down, throw up your link to your Patreon too. Or if say, okay, I can't do every month, I can't swing that. You'll see a little thing down here called Stream Tip. If you've enjoyed tonight's stream, throw a buck or two in there. All of it adds up. All of it goes towards making this happen. And on that note, I'm going to have to say goodnight to everyone, even though I'm going to admit we sent Atrium Productions. If you just showed up, sorry, we're actually signing off for the evening, but thank you for coming by, and we will be doing this in 2 weeks on Saturday.
And, I just want to say, to all of you, thank you. I definitely very much appreciate the support, and thanks to you guys for having me here. I definitely love the amount of work you put into the studio.
It's all right.
It's all right. Yeah. So, Atrium, yeah, hopefully see you in maybe a couple weeks. I do art on Saturday nights. It's usually just me, but because we're doing BabsCon this weekend, he's out from the East Coast, and we were doing a special stream tonight.
Well, and unfortunately, if Skype would work nicer, I could actually maybe sometimes chat with you all, but it's got to be a party pooper.
Yeah, it ends up breaking our obs.
I've got ideas.
Okay, you're top men are on the job. So,
Well, if we clone me.
yeah. Okay, so good night, folks.
Catch you guys later.
Get some sleep.
All right.
You're wonderful.